What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to episode 14 of C4SVillains. I am your host JB and I am here with two very special guests, and we are going to be talking about Invincible episode 6 and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 5. So up first we have returning guests from the Popaholics podcast, Chris Conkling, and of course the movie CEO himself, Darren Vance. I'm so happy to have you guys on the podcast with me.
Thanks for having me back, man. It's always fun to be here.
Oh yeah. I'm a fan of the work. It's been a while. Took long enough. I'm glad I'm here.
Yes, it took much longer than I wanted to get you on one of my platforms, man. But it is an honor to have you here so that we can talk about these two incredible shows. So first off, Darren, why don't you tell the people what you do?
Yes. What's up, guys? My name is Darren, aka movie_CEO, where CEO stands for Creative Entertaining Opinions. We look for the good, the bad, the better, the worst in all movies and TV shows, because there's some form of entertainment even in the trash ones. So we try to find that as well. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on YouTube of the same name. Just make sure you put that underscore in between. So movie_CEO. But yeah, we talk about any and everything. So if you guys got any recommendations of stuff for me to watch, I am a professional amateur movie watcher. I haven't seen a lot of things, but if you tell me to watch it, I will most likely watch it. It might take me like 7 years, but I promise you, I'm gonna put it on the list. So yeah, come check my channel out.
Yeah. Darren has stuff on YouTube, does a lot of reviews on Instagram as well, movies, TV shows, so you guys definitely be sure to check that out. The link for his Instagram is in the description, so go follow him, do me a favor, you guys will not regret it. So I want the fans to get to know you a little bit more, Darren, so why don't you tell them, like, who are some of your favorite, like, superheroes in, like, the MCU and DCEU?
Woo! So something I love to do, I love to get like a pop culture reference, like t-shirts. So this is my Super Marvel cart, like Mario with Marvel characters on it. So I love to represent like my time, my culture, like with my posters behind me and stuff like that. So some of my favorites are, as you can see, Spider-Man. I love Black Panther. Obviously, that's before the MCU introduced them to the rest of the planet. I'm a huge fan of Frank Miller's Batman series. Yes. Huge fan of Wesley Snipes' Blade as well. That's what I kind of grew up on. That's what kind of got me into the gore and the blood of cinema growing up. But yeah, those are some of my favorites. I grew up on Spider-Man, grew up reading a lot of his work, watching the animated series, X-Men animated series as well. But yeah, a lot of my heroes come from my childhood of the TV shows and stuff I was kind of raised on or whatnot. But Spider-Man, Black Panther, and Frank Miller's Batman being at the top of that list.
Okay.
Good list.
Gotta respect that. Yeah, great list.
Thank you.
I mean, like, those were the shows that I started off with too, like just like Spider-Man the animated series, Batman the animated series. Like, those shows really got me into comics and pretty much took me to where I am right now, where I have my own show now, where I can get to talk about this stuff with you guys who are just as knowledgeable in terms of like the comics and the shows and everything. So I want to get into the news. First piece of news that I wanted to talk about was so Black Adam has finally begun filming. So Darren, I want to know from you first, like, are you excited for Black Adam? Like, do you feel like it took way too long to come out? Like, what are your thoughts on it?
So DC as a whole, this is my thing. DC is very hit and miss. So it's like I get excited and then they let me down. And then when I'm not excited, they exceed my expectations.
Yeah.
So if it can give me the same type of entertainment that like Shazam gave me, then I know I'm in for a good time. Again, it doesn't have to be a quote unquote amazing movie just to be, entertaining or whatnot. Because Shazam had its flaws, but it was hell of entertaining to watch. So I'm excited for. I'm always excited to see like what The Rock can do in different roles and stuff. So overall, I'm excited for it, but I'm just taming my expectations because I don't want to walk out like, damn, I was expecting so much more and I was let down. But I'm optimistic. So yes, overall, I am excited.
Yeah, same. Chris?
I'm excited too, man. Like I kind of align with Darren though. I mean, I've talked on the show before about how my expectations going into Warner Brothers DC films over the last 10 years has been pretty low. But I'm excited for Black Adam. Dwayne The Rock Johnson looks like the character taken right out of the comic books. Like that, it's genius, perfect casting for that role. And now that we know that we're also going to be getting the JSA in the movie as well, that's also super exciting. That totally caught me off guard during DC fandom. Like I absolutely did not expect to see any of those characters in the movie. So I'm pumped. I'm still of the mindset where I'm like, I don't truly believe a DC movie's coming out until I actually see it in the theater, even though we know that they're shooting it now. But I'm excited.
Same. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of Shazam. Like, I don't think it's a bad movie by any stretch of the imagination, but I was never a big Billy Batson fan anyway. So it's just like, I saw the movie, I was like, okay, that was cool. Like, I don't know how many times I'll revisit it, but it's like, yeah, that was cool. Definitely excited to see the JSA in Black Adam. Dwayne Johnson he was born to be Black Adam, right? Like you said, Chris, like he's the spitting image of Black Adam in the comics. So it's just like, it's going to be very interesting to see him take on that role. My only thing is, I really hope that Dwayne Johnson doesn't take over and it's actually about Black Adam and not
he's
him.
able to embody the character. Yeah, that I hope so too.
But can he give me one rock bottom in the movie? Is that too much to ask for? That's too much, right?
I will take it. I will
take
it.
That's too much.
I will literally take that. I think that would be awesome. That I'm okay with. It's just like, I don't want to see a movie about Dwayne Johnson dressed up as Black Adam. Like, I want to see a Black Adam
I would kind of
movie.
be down for that. I guess that'd be ridiculous.
Yeah, but I feel like it would turn into like Will Smith in the Backup Squad. Like it turned into kind of like a Will Smith movie. So like, I do agree with the fact that like, that's one thing Marvel has shined at, taking, actors and actresses that may not be known as well, but still good at their craft and making them into these characters. When I look at Black Adam, I am going to see the Dwayne The Rock Johnson. So hopefully he can change kind of like my perspective of that. But yeah, I do feel like there are going to be a lot of scenes that The Rock he's going to steal it just because it's The Rock. So
definitely.
Yeah, we're definitely going to see that happen. So next piece of news that I wanted to talk about, since we're on the topic of Shazam and Black Adam, Lucy Liu has been added to the cast of Shazam, Fury of the Gods. So how do you guys feel about Lucy Liu joining the project, and she's joining the project as the main villain of the movie?
Oh, that's new to me. Breaking news. Haha. But I'm a fan of Lucy Liu. She brings something different to like a lot of the projects that she's in. So I'm excited to see like what she can bring to it. DC is looking for like known talent to like execute a lot of these roles. So that it doesn't surprise me that would happen. So yeah, again, I'm taming all expectations, but I like a well-rounded cast. So I'm with it.
Chris?
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen Lucy Liu in anything, I have to admit. Yeah. And to our knowledge, she's just playing a Greek god, right? She's not playing a character from the comic books. Is that correct?
From what I read, it hasn't been disclosed as like what type of character she's playing. Is just going to be the main villain.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm sure she can do evil very well. So sure. I really like the first Shazam. It was a lot of fun. There were horror elements added to it. It's the same director this time around, so I'm excited. It should be a good time.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, like Nova saying in chat right now, Pierce Brosnan being cast as Dr. Fate, like that's sick. That's going to be awesome. I
Yeah,
actually think that's
amazing.
great casting.
Oh yeah, 100%. I really feel like DC, this is their time. This is their time. Like, don't mess this up. don't give us another thing where we have to get extended cuts of all these movies just to justify that they were actually good.
You've said
place.
It out loud now, Darren,
yes.
And now it's not going to happen. And I'm really mad at you for it. I'm not going to lie.
That's what DC is known for, just giving us extended cuts of movies to say that, like, hey, we were making a good movie, but you guys just didn't get that the first time around. So hopefully they can get that right the first time around this time.
Yeah,
so we'll
I hope so.
Yeah, hopefully. Because, I mean, they're all about money. They're all about just the dollar signs. They're not really that interested in making really good stories. And the reason why they have to come out with these extended cuts is because people see the theatrical cuts and it's like, well, this is bullshit. So it's like, this isn't good enough. And then it's like, well, we'll give them the extended cut. And then sometimes it's better. Sometimes it's awesome. So it really just depends with DC. I still feel like we need new leadership. Walter Hamada he's not the right guy. Based on everything that Ray Fisher has said about him and Joss Whedon and a couple other people that are over DC at WB, they need to be removed. We cannot have these people who are allegedly racist, sexist people over these projects. It just can't work.
Yeah.
And you can see that, like, it plays out. Like, if you want an example of how Warner Brothers and DC has been doing, literally just watch both Justice League movies. And you will see, like, you literally see in their work, there's a lot of times where you see what a director or a producer or a writer is doing in the first cut. And when you go and watch the 4-hour version of it, you will see a lot of areas that were taken out, like spitefully, like, wow, you really that's petty. So I'm a lot of
questionable choices were made.
Yes.
While
1000%.
editing that first movie.
Yeah. It's really weird because it's like, you know that Snyder's footage was shot first. So WB made the conscious decision to ignore those scenes, spend extra money just to get ass shots of Gal Gadot. Just to get the Amazons in the skimpiest, most ridiculous, like, costumes possible. It's just like, what were you thinking? This is what you put your extra money into? You put extra money into overly sexualizing all of the women in your movie and then removing all of the warrior elements from those women to overly sexualize them. You made a conscious decision to spend money to do that. Do you realize how crazy that is?
Yeah,
it's insane. Stupid. Yeah. But they, you know, desperate people do desperate things.
Facts.
And they wanted so desperately to have an Avengers movie on their hands. So they did what they thought they had to do to have it match the tone of what Marvel's doing. And they weren't able to capture the same magic. They don't understand what that magic is. That's the truth of it.
You said it, right? They go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, and they tried to essentially, like, capture that magic in one or two films, where it took Marvel 4 or 5 just to give us the Avengers. Like, right. And then they said, like, oh, it's 4 hours long. No, cut that down to 2. Definitely cut that down to 2. And they really tried to execute this in 2 hours and give us that same feel and thought it would work. It's trash. And then the thing that pissed me off the most is after I watched the Zack Snyder cut, like, it was legitimately a good movie.
I know.
Like, it was a great film. Like, that pissed me off even more. The more, like, scenes I saw, I'm like, this is what y'all got rid of. It was bold and different. And yes, it could have worked. It was 4 hours long, but it could have worked. That's crazy.
Yeah, we talked about this before, right? Realistically, the Snyder cut could have easily been like 3:30, right? You could put that in theaters. Like, The Wolf of Wall Street is 3 hours plus, bro. You can do it. People will go and see it. These films can still be successful. But WB, they're just lazy. It's just like, well, let's make it 2 hours. That way, we can have more screenings. We can have almost double screenings in theaters to maximize box office numbers, instead of thinking, well, let's just make the perfect movie, and then people will go back to the cinema constantly to rewatch it because it's a great movie.
I think the main difference, though, between The Wolf of Wall Street and this hypothetical, 3.5 hour version of Justice League is that with Justice League, it costs so much more than Wolf of Wall Street that they have to pump as many screenings out as they possibly can per day to make that money back. With Wolf of Wall Street, they're not as concerned about that because it costs less and it's not a blockbuster. But being a blockbuster, I mean, I understand how critics are like, there's no way in hell like a 4 hour / 3.5 hour Justice League would have played well in theaters because there's just not enough time in the day to generate the revenue that the studio would need to make their money back. But I mean, as super fans, fuck yeah, I would have sat there for a 4 hour cut. I don't give a crap about how much money the movie's making, other than the fact that it needs to make more money to get more of the content that I want. But yeah, that would only be like the main difference that I could see between those two things.
Yeah, and to be honest, it took us 12 years to warm up to the idea of a 3-hour Avengers movie. So like, I could completely understand. Yeah, I could completely understand the argument that like, hey, 4 hours. Yeah, if we talk about in one auditorium, a 4-hour movie, you might get 4 showings a day, maybe in one auditorium. So like, I can understand 4 or 5. If it's open to midnight, 1 a.m., whatever. But when Endgame was playing in theaters, they booted other films from theaters just so they could play it on as many theaters as they possibly could, or in as many theaters as they possibly could. Justice League was not getting that respect. Money. Oh, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, no way. Justice League was not getting that respect. And then Justice League came out, and if my memory serves me correctly, Justice League came out either before or after Civil War.
After.
At the time.
It was after.
Yeah, it came out after. So if you watch Civil War, I can understand a bunch of Warner Brothers execs sitting in a room like, we have to go up against that. So I understand the decision process. Like, I give them a little leeway, but overall, the 4-hour movie, it could have worked because it was a good film. The people that would have saw it would have got behind it and would have said like, hey, this works. We can go off of this. And who knows where their universe would be right now if they would have released that cut.
Seriously, right? It's a Justice League movie. They're thinking, oh, Justice League, no matter what we do, it'll make $1 billion. No, it has to be a good movie first. Yes, the DCEU does not have the clout of the MCU, so people would not chomp at the bit to maybe go see a 3 and change hour Justice League movie. But it's the Justice League. I think people would go. Facts. It's the DC equivalent. I think people would go. And they extended screenings. There were screenings that started at 1 a.m. at some theaters here in Tennessee. So you could have just added, you could have talked to the theaters, make a deal, and just add viewings to make up that revenue, right? A movie like Justice League, it would take up all of your IMAXs, all of your Dolby Cinemas, all of your real 3Ds. That's where you can make the extra money. But I don't know, man. They need to hire me. I've been saying this forever. They need to hire me.
WB, hire James to be the head of DC or head of marketing. I don't know.
I would take either one, honestly. But let's switch gears a little bit. I want to talk about the Fast and Furious, the new Fast 9 trailer. Oh my God, is this awesome. First off, are you guys fans of the Fast and Furious franchise?
James, you and I have had conversations about how I feel about the Fast and the Furious franchise. I'm going to get so much hate for this. I've only seen Tokyo Drift, and I've never had a genuine interest in watching any of the other movies. Darren is so pissed at me right now. However, the Popaholics are going to do a Fast and the Furious month. It was James's idea. And I will watch all the Fast and the Furious movies. But as it stands right now, I'm not a giant fan of the franchise, but I totally understand it has a giant following. Those movies make a shit ton of money, and they're so popular worldwide. I am absolutely in the minority here. I think Darren's going to give a very different opinion, and I'm so excited to hear his. How do you feel about the Fast and the Furious franchise, Darren?
This is one of the best franchises of all time.
There it
is. No debate.
Boom.
This is it. I'm sorry. You put a tank on the interstate, you have me at hello every single time. This franchise embodies knowing exactly what they are. They are the key role players and executing at that. They don't deviate from what they don't know. This is, you put cars in the sky, you literally skydive with cars. I'm going to say that again. You skydive with cars. This franchise knows what it is, and it executes that well. I mean, I don't know how much you know about it. No spoilers, but there is one that we all got emotional with the send off of a particular character, and it's just like, because this franchise, it just does something to you. And to say that, like, we were raised on this franchise just as much as we say we were raised, like, from, you know, the X-Men films up to the MCU and all of those movies and whatever else in between, the Harry Potter franchises, the Hunger Games of the world, all of that. Like, Fast and Furious is a part of our culture heavy. When they made that
undeniable.
And when they made that huge switch from just being, you know, race cars to now being like these elaborate heist films, it was the best thing for the franchise. I'm sorry, they could come out with 27 of these movies, and I will be there on opening night faithfully every single time. This
F30,
franchise
bro,
knows
there.
what it is. 100%. I'm 97 years old, drinking my prune juice in IMAX 70, watching the next Fast and Furious film. 100%. This franchise is amazing.
It's like a CGI Vin Diesel, because Vin Diesel's dead, and like they're just still using his likeness.
I'm there for it. And he's probably jumping a car over a satellite screaming "Family first" on the way down. I am totally here for every single Fast and Furious film that comes out.
I do have to say, after watching the trailer for F9, I do appreciate how aware the characters are of the insanity that's transpired over the course of the franchise. Like, during the trailer, they're talking about how they're using magnets to like push and pull cars through buildings. It really is fucking insane. Like, how the main challenge of this franchise is, how the fuck are we going to amp up the stunts from film to film, and they constantly have to keep outdoing themselves. They've set this precedent where, like, they will be jumping over a satellite at one point in time if they keep making these movies. They're just gonna have to.
And I will say, this is one of those rare franchises that really does, like, they were able to evolve and keep it going, right? Like, the Mission Impossible franchise, I feel like they've successfully been able to evolve what they've done, stay close to what they've always done, but elevate it and make the films better and better. For me, Fallout is the best one. Fallout is absolutely insane.
Yes.
The cinematography, the score, the sound design, everything in Fallout is flames. So for me, the Fast and the Furious franchise is similar, right? But I will say that Fast 5 is still my favorite.
The best one, yes.
Oh, yeah. Watch it. I don't want to spoil it for Chris, but just watching them pretty much just like do a bank heist, bro, is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Watching Dom against The Rock, like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen, right? Fate of the Furious wasn't like my favorite. I would put Fate of the Furious like close to the bottom of my ranking, but I love this franchise. They can go to space. I want to see Dom punch a Martian. I don't give a shit. Whatever you do, just give it to me, and I'm there.
Oh my God.
I was talking about this on the Anime Lately podcast last night, but what I would love to see is, in the trailer, you see how Charlize Theron's character is using a plane, and John Cena's car drives off of this cliff, and the plane like, picks it up, right?
It like grabs it, yeah.
I want the plane to pick up Dom's car, throw Dom into space, right? And then Dom has to use 2 tanks of NOS, press the NOS at the same time, and then he has to slingshot himself around the moon so that he can then be projected back into Earth's gravity.
I don't think it's that ridiculous. I think that's possible.
1,000%. Like, have you guys seen Armageddon? We can definitely slingshot around the moon.
That's where I got it from.
By the 11th film, that's gonna happen. The 11th film is supposed to be the last film. If that doesn't happen in the 11th film, I'm gonna be disappointed, and I'm not even a huge fan of this franchise. So that better happen.
Look, I'm sorry. Like, they just do things with cars that like what can we do next to like just kind of like step up the game of like physics and then just take the realism out of it 1,000%. So yeah, the things they do in these films, I am 1,000% here for it. I love the whole I love the parts where like they're doing the action scene and someone says something outlandish, like, "You're not about to do what I think you're about to do," and then like, but who's thinking doing these things? So I'm here for it. They could, again, make 10,000 of these things. I will be in the theaters every single time. Even in the afterlife, I'll be watching from heaven.
Right?
Just like, you know.
They've even retconned things, and it's like, I don't even give a shit. These movies are so fun. I don't even care, bro. I don't even care.
Yeah, I'm here for it. And then every movie, it's like, oh, this person's a villain. What? So
yeah, right.
I'm here for it every single time, all the time.
I'm excited for my journey.
It's easily one of my favorite. It's top 5 of my favorite franchises of all time. I love the Vash. Yes, I love it. It's amazing for what they give us. It's undeniable. Get the biggest TV, the best sound system, and just have a good time.
Oh yeah, I absolutely love this franchise. Like you said, like we just bought the 4K box set of the first 8 films, so Mia and I are actually gonna binge watch the whole thing right before F9, and I can't wait, bro. I can't wait for these next 2 films. I can't wait for the Hobbs and Shaw spin-offs. Like, we still need to figure out, like, who the villain is of, like, that spin-off movie. We're supposed to eventually get, like, a spin-off movie with, like, the women of Fast and Furious. I think that would be dope for Letty to lead her own mission with Ramsey. I wish Giselle was still alive. But that would be something, you know, really cool that they could do within this franchise just to keep it going. Absolutely love it. So let's switch gears again. I want to get into to Invincible. Darren, I know you binge watch the entire like first 6 episodes. I really appreciate you putting that work, man. So what are your general What are your general thoughts on Invincible? And then we'll get into the episode itself.
That Amazon just knows how to do superheroes shows, apparently. I watched The Boys for the first time last year, and I was just blown away. I was just like, hey, if superheroes were around in this day and age, I believe this is how it would be. And it was a completely different take, because we all know nowadays superhero shows are like, in movies, it's its own genre. It's no longer action or whatever. Like, superhero genre is a thing. We need to acknowledge that. And and now it's about like, how can we make it different? How can we make it enjoyable? How can we make it, you know, something that the people haven't seen? So you have the Boys of the world, you have the My Hero Academias of the world. Shout out to My Hero, by the way. But this show, I love the art style. First and foremost, it feels like an old 90s vibe almost, as far as the art style goes. The first episode just goes like a traditional comic book story, nothing too different. It kind of reminded me of Up, Up and Away, the Disney film. It kind of reminded me of that a little bit.
True, it does a little bit,
But then that ending happened, and that's when I knew. I was like, oh, this is more like Attack on Titans. Okay. Okay, so we got all this going on. So I love the characters. I love that the show keeps you guessing, but it's not over on like the politics and the espionage and all that. Like, these are kids in like high school still dealing with high school drama. Some of them have family issues, real world stuff that a lot of us deal with, but they just happen to be superheroes. And I love how they go through the nuances of like, hey, you have to figure out a balance between, you know, doing what you want and doing what you need, doing your responsibilities.
It's the Peter Parker problem.
Yes, and I picked up on a lot of that in this show. But overall, I am really impressed. Like, I was hooked. I didn't watch this show just to do this. Like, after the first episode, I was like, I'm watching this for me too. Like,
that's awesome.
this is actually a good show. So I am really enjoying this journey. I'm kind of mad that like I'm caught up now. I wish I had the rest of the series to kind of watch like all in one, but like, it's good. I'm truly enjoying this show. It's good.
I hate to break it to you, Darren, but there are only 8 episodes this season, so you only have 2 more episodes left.
I'm sorry, what?
There are only 2 more episodes left to this season.
I need to speak to the manager. Why is that? Like, why can't we get more episodes than that? But yeah, so this past episode, so yeah, 2 more left. Yeah, I'm excited for those 2. And I love the fact they're 45 minutes apiece.
Yes.
That just doesn't happen too often.
It adds a level of seriousness to the format, you know? Like, they're not these kiddie 20, 22-minute animated episodes. There's a seriousness in that 45-minute decision.
Yeah, and the fight scenes,
they're really brutal.
So like, I don't, shout out to the anyone that does the drawings or animations for these shows. You guys go to a dark place for this. and I appreciate all of you. Send me your address. I will send you a fruit basket. I love, I love the lightheartedness, like in some moments, but then I love the switch where it just comes this dark, gritty thing. It kind of reminded me of Logan in a sense, because all the X-Men films, you don't see blood on the claws for most of it. But they were just like, Logan, we're going to give them all they can handle and show them like what really goes on, like if superheroes were around. This show does that. Like you see a lot of civilians, something happens to them. You see what happens to the heroes. Like this is what really happens to them and what it would look like. And I enjoy that realism in this show.
You hit the nail on the head for me, right? Like the realism, like when you see an alien invasion, like the people who are at ground zero, they're more than likely gonna die, right? Like even in the Avengers movie, even though they tell you that people died in Civil War, you didn't really see that happening, right? As buildings were falling and all of these different things were going on. So I like seeing the weight of it. Like when the Flaxons show up, instantly you see dozens and dozens of people being murdered,
dead.
And much like, not like anime, right? Like Mark goes in thinking that he's going to be this great hero, and then he just ends up feeling like he just fucked everything up, right? Like he's not his dad. He can't just fly in and just save everyone, because that's just not how it works.
Dude,
you know
that old woman that he tries to save, like you think he's gonna save her, and then he does like this tumble that absolutely destroys her and hospitalizes her. That's when I was like, oh, okay, this show's doing something different.
Yeah, and that's something that you don't see, right? Like a hero dodging out of the way with someone in their arms. You don't ever really see them get hurt. Like this actually shows you the impact of how hard he flew into that crater. You know what I mean? So it's that kind of stuff that really sets it apart for me.
Oh, 1000%. And I think both of you make good points where it's just like, you don't see that often, like what happens to the victims. You don't see the boulder crush them. You don't see when they don't make it out of a burning building or a situation, whatever the case may be. You might hear the screams or hear the aftermath, but you don't see it happen in real time. And and sometimes I'm grateful because I would have a problem sleeping at night if every superhero movie showed me the realism of them being superheroes. But yeah, this show just has a weight to it that like you don't see too often in a lot of shows. Like the type of weight in this, you normally have to go like to animes to really see. But this show has no issue showing us both sides. It's like the first half of this show can be for kids, and then the entire back half of the show is for adults and mature audiences. So I love the good blend in this show. But yeah, it's amazing. Thank you guys for putting me on. I appreciate y'all.
Yeah, man. It really sucks there's only 2 episodes left, but I mean, as soon as it's done, I'm reading the comic. I already bought all 3 compendiums. So as soon as it's done... Oh, yeah.
So it's based on a comic by Robert Kirkman, the creator of The Walking Dead.
Walking Dead. Hey, what's up, Rob? Okay, that's what's up.
And speaking of Robert Kirkman, I actually heard in an interview, I think it was a Collider interview like a couple of weeks ago, that they've already started production on season 2. So we're getting more Invincible.
And something else I looked up the cast of this show.
Oh, it's a great cast.
It's nuts,
mind blowing. How many J.K. Simmons, Mahershala Ali is in this thing. Like, and even some of the characters you think are going to be bigger ones that, whatever throughout the show, like even for characters that are not in the show that long, big names are doing them too. I'm looking at the cast for this. I'm just like, are they coming out with like another Lion King movie or something live action? Like they spared no expense grabbing some well-known names to play these roles. I love the fact that I watched all of it and then I looked it up. Because I was able to just enjoy the characters and their voices for who they are, but now looking them up, I'm like, wow, it's amazing. And maybe that's why I gravitate towards some of these characters so much, and their like, vocal performances in this is because it's that known actor or actress. But yeah, this show on so many levels is amazing. I love it.
Seth Rogen plays an alien character for like 5 minutes total, maybe.
Yes!
Like he's not in the episode that long.
Yeah, that was awesome. I love the voice cast. There's like, I think like 7 or 8 people that are from The Walking Dead that do voices on the show.
Yeah.
It's absolutely crazy. But yeah, man, this show is amazing. Let's get into the latest episode. So when the episode begins, we see this person experimenting on this drunk kid that was hitting on these girls, right? I didn't realize until the end of the episode, actually until Chris texted me, that it was Ezra Miller who voices that guy.
Yeah, he voices the mad scientist character.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so that totally speaks to like just big name actors coming in for random roles, you know, that probably only took him maybe like a day's worth of recording to record that episode.
Yeah, and what Rob is saying in the chat right now, like people are always complaining that Mark is always getting beat up. It's like he just became a hero. Like he's still learning.
A few months ago.
Yes, he has powers, but there are still a lot of stronger people out there, and he's still learning. He doesn't know how to fight. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't have any techniques. Yeah.
Yeah, I think something to compare it to is kind of like Superman. Superman has strength, but he doesn't know all situations. So he doesn't know what to do in all situations. That's Mark in this. Like, he might have powers, he doesn't know how to fight, but he doesn't know what to do in a lot of situations. Like, could he handle one of the robots from this episode, like, by himself? Obviously, he did, even though he kind of caught them hands for a little bit of it.
Oh, yeah.
But when it comes to 3 of them in a small, confined room, he didn't know what to do. And the episode prior, I think, when he got hit really hard or when he got beat up and he was in the hospital, like, he did.
From Battle Beast, I think is his name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He didn't know what to do in those situations. So I think like the more we see his character grow, the more he'll understand what to do in certain situations. But yeah, I like the fact like he's getting his ass kicked. Like
he's
I
learning.
I enjoy seeing him grow in the in some of those scenes. So yeah, it worked out for me.
How do you feel about Omni-Man?
He's invincible.
I don't know what to feel about him yet. I don't like do I feel like I don't. Okay, so it's tough because at first I was like, oh, he's being brainwashed or he's being controlled. But then as episodes goes on, he asks for his suit back in the hospital in a way where it's just like, no, he's fully aware. He's fully conscious of what he did. It's like, hey, this is classified. I need this. And then he knew where to hide it. Well, until his wife found it. He's like, I knew where to hide it. Like he knew what to do. So he is hiding something. My outlandish theory is I believe that like his race, again, I don't read the comics. I don't know anything. I just watched this for the first time today. I believe his race might be sent to planets like to observe them, but eventually destroy them after a while. And he might have saw, now that his son has powers, the rest of this team as threats or something of the nature. I don't know. But again, I just finished the series like an hour and a half ago. So I don't know what to think about him, but I love how he's training his son. I love that a lot of the stuff he says still holds weight. When he was teaching him how to fly, teaching him how to take a hit. I love the whole scene where he had to stop the meteor and he told him like, just throw it back in space. Just throw it back in space.
Then he was like, that's not even as big as one that I threw out into space like a couple years ago or something. Like, oh, that was a small one.
Yeah, so I love his character. I love the mystery behind his character. I vibe with his character a lot. Almost like I hate Homelander, and I hate everything about his character, but I love to see him on screen. He's like a Joffrey to me. But it's something about Omni-Man where I'm just like, there's something mysterious about him where I just believe like this is his way. Like he's not trying to get over on somebody. Like I believe there's a bigger plan or a bigger play that he's trying to execute. So I vibe with him. I feel like he's the overall villain. But yes,
I agree with you, Darren. I think that the Viltrumites, is that what his species is called?
The Viltrumites.
Yeah, Viltrumites.
I don't think they're as altruistic as he is saying they are.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with you that there's something there where I don't think they come to save planets, but probably destroy them. And he just got interrupted by, falling in love and starting a family.
A very Goku Dragon Ball Z type thing.
I was just going to say.
Except he's not. He's like more like Vegeta. Because Goku's like happy-go-lucky and he lost his memory and he wants to protect Earth, whereas Omni-Man's like, got to get back to destroying Earth now.
Facts.
Yeah, like after the first episode, like that was the first thing that came to my mind. I'm like, oh, the Viltrumites are actually more like Saiyans, but instead of conquering planets to sell them, maybe they're conquering planets to expand their empire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because when he kills all of the Flaxans, he tells them straight up, like, this is not your planet to conquer. So that's straight up what the Viltrumites do. And I'm so curious to see, like, what Mark is going to do. Like, how is he going to react to knowing that his father was actually sent here to subjugate the planet and get it primed for Viltrum. So that's going to be really interesting. Nova brought up in chat that Omni-Man pretty much hid his costume much like Dexter, where he just keeps all of his trophies inside of one of the vents. Nova's like, why not just leave it on the moon? I'm like, yeah, why not fly it to the moon and leave it there? Why not destroy it, right?
That makes the most sense.
It's like, do you
understand? No, I was just gonna say I understand why he kept the suit, but obviously, again, we don't know what we don't know just yet. Because I did notice something in the first episode when he was just like, hey, he told his dad like, hey, I think I'm getting my powers because I just threw a garbage bag like to the moon or whatever. I noticed the look on his face. It wasn't of like, yo, I'm happy that you got it. It was kind of a look of like, you know, oh, so you are actually getting your powers, blah, 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 blah. So I do believe that's another huge reason why he killed off the Guardians. Yeah.
Guardians of the Globe, is that what they're called?
Guardians of the Globe,
that's what they're called. Yeah.
I was so mad about that because, yo, I saw, I think it was 2 women of color, like in the group. I was like, yes. I was like, all right, I get to see a lot of them. No. And I was like, okay,
it's brutal, dude.
Dark Wing. I think that's what his name. Which was like,
man.
yeah, which was like the Wakanda
character?
Batman.
Yeah. I was like, oh shit, we have a black Batman. All right. Nah.
Like, oh snap. And then in the episode, I was like, okay, we're not there yet. All right. Maybe another 10 years. Maybe. We're not there yet. All right. So I still enjoyed the ending, but I was just like, damn, I was looking forward to seeing those characters. Basically what took Game of Thrones 8 episodes to give you, like unconventional storytelling of killing off characters, they just did it in 42 minutes. So I wasn't mad at it, but I was mad at it, but I wasn't mad at it. It was good storytelling, but I was just sad because I really wanted to see those characters. But
yeah.
I digress.
Yeah. But moving on into the other parts of the episode, like seeing Monster Girl, Black Samson, and Invincible in the hospital, them trying to work on them. And it actually looks like Black Samson probably got his powers back.
It seems like
them
it,
trying to bring him back. So that's going to be really dope. But I also love that, like getting to see these characters like really hurt. Like these are extremely powerful beings, but they can still be vulnerable, right? Like his name is Invincible, but he's not really invincible. And I like,
right.
Yeah, I love seeing my characters vulnerable. That's something that's really important to me.
Yeah, I think it's a great twist on the standard comic book tropes as well. Like, because no one's safe. You know, what that does is it raises the stakes for every episode. I watch the show in a constant state of concern for every character because you just don't know what's going to happen. Someone could die at any moment. In episode 6 in particular, like not even Mark's human friends are safe from harm. They're willing to do a whole bunch of shit to them. So it puts you on edge, man. But that's great because, like I said, it raises the stakes.
Again, yeah, and like the fight scenes just complement that so much because you watch these fight scenes and I'm just like, oh, that person's dead. They're not living through getting 2 boulders like crushed against your skull. So when they're in the hospital and they're healing or they're going through whatever scene they're going through, you feel for these characters because you're just like, yeah, man, you just got your chest caved in. You just got set on fire, whatever the case may be. Like, yeah, I love seeing that. I love what's her name? The Monster Girl.
Yeah, Monster Girl.
Yeah, I love Monster Girl and like the complexity of like her healing, where it's just like she has a skull fracture, or whatever, but she keeps transforming and then going back, transforming, going back. And I love the fact her character is just like, yeah, every time I transform, I got a Curious Case of Benjamin Button thing going on where I get a little bit younger
every time.
Yeah. She said, I peeped when she said she transformed and she went back. She was like, yeah, I just lost a week. because of that one like transformation. So it kind of
That's
gives a time
crazy,
frame.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of gives a time frame of every time she transforms. Because I asked myself, how much time does she lose or lose game, whatever, when she transformed? And when she said that, I'm like, oh, okay, so that kind of puts in perspective. She loses 7 days every time she transforms. So yeah.
But that, I feel like that adds to the fact that she's a hero because she has to be selective with the transformation. You know, she has to calculate when she's going to do it because it's finite. You know, she's not going to be able to do it forever. So that kind of adds to the heroicism in her character.
Agreed.
Yeah, definitely. So Darren, I want to know, like, how do you feel about Mark and Amber, and how do you feel about Mark and Eve? Like, how do you feel about like those relationships? Like, who do you think Mark should end up with? Like, I'm all for Mark and Amber. I feel like he should just tell her that he's invincible and let her decide what she wants to do with that information instead of treating her like a child. Like, I get that revealing his identity would put her in danger, but that should ultimately be her decision. I don't want him to lose an amazing woman because of that. But if he loses her, there is Eve, right, who understands what it's like to live a life as a hero. So what are your thoughts on it?
First thing I did that, one of the things that stuck out to me is when Eve said that when they were at the lockers, they was just like, this is why I date this is why I can't date normal people, because like you don't have to worry about the whole like secret identity thing.
Right.
I want Amber deserves the world. Like that's probably my favorite character. Like she deserves better. I'm not saying Mark's not that, but like, yeah, to your point, like she does deserve to know, or she deserves to feel like, you know, she knows what's going on. Because she just yelled at the man, like, why did you leave us when, you know, the cyborg just attacked the school, not knowing like I'm the one that just saved yours. But I do want Mark and Amber to work out. I see Mark and Eve kind of working out a little bit more, but if I like the unconventional method of just saying like, hey, two superheroes being in love, like you don't see that too often or whatnot. So I like the fact that like if they ended up together, that's cool. But I think Amber deserves better. I want her to know, and I want her to find out very similar to the way Mary Jane found out in Spider-Man 2. Like I just want one of those moments where Mark is holding something up and Amber's like, so you love me? I do. I just want that moment. I'm sorry. I just want that moment. But yeah, I want Amber to be the one, but obviously it's season 1. There's so many other stories to go through. Hell, we could find out later on that she had powers the whole time and she could be a supervillain or whatever. But
that'd be cool.
Hey, don't knock it. But yeah, I want them to be together, but I really feel like the way this show is flowing, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, probably not. But I don't know how it's going to go. Last week on the show, we were talking about the possibility of Amber even being murdered by Omni-Man. It really could go a couple different ways, because I don't want to go too close to the end, but who knows what he's going to do with Debbie, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there. How do you guys feel about Eve and like her mission to do real hero work? Like, you know, with her powers, with her abilities, she has the ability to change atoms on a molecular level. She can do so many things, like with her abilities. She can help people grow crops that we've seen her do in the episode. So, Chris, I want to start with you. Like, how do you feel about Eve actually wanting to do hero work and not just focusing on saving the world from like aliens and shit?
Right. I really appreciate that about her character. I mean, that's not something we see a lot in comic books or in the genre, which is heroes who like fully lean into their reality bending abilities. You know, it is mostly like this, oh, I have to save the cat from the tree, or I have to rescue these people in the city. But she's like done with that and has realized that she can make more of an impact by simply changing the molecular structure of things, you know, like you said, helping farms grow, you know, changing, you know, the weather, stuff like that, ending droughts. So I really dig it. You know, she's just fully leaning into her abilities, and she doesn't care what anybody's saying about it. She's just going to help the world in her own way. And it doesn't always have to be like saving lives. She can make the world a better place in different ways.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally agree. And I love the fact that she had the conversation with Amber, like, hey, like, giving back to the community at the center that she works at or that she volunteers at. She was like, yo, this kind of opened my eyes to, helping people, like just to help people. I like the path that she's going on. I love the fact that like she keeps creating doors to leave the house.
It's so funny, man. I hate her father. Her father's an asshole.
Yeah, he's a douchebag.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. So I love the fact when she made the door disappear and it was like, why did you do that? I was like, the back door's still open. He comes around.
He's not trapped in there.
Yeah, he's not trapped in there. The back door's still open. So I love that she's finding, because like, you say life's about like, you two things. It's like the day you're born and then the day you find out like your purpose in life. So I love the fact that like, she's kind of finding her purpose. Again, it's only season 1, so who knows what's going to happen in the future, but I love the journey that she is going on, because that's a real thing that not only superheroes deal with, but sometimes we deal with in the real world. Like, like I want to help people. And if I have the ability, the means, the finances to actually help someone, like I want to do that. And there might be people that are against that. Like, why would you do that when you have all the opportunities to do X, Y, and Z? So I love the fact she doesn't really so much want to be a superhero in the sense of quote unquote, like fighting villains. She wants to be a superhero of the people, like help, growing crops or help feed a homeless family. So yeah, 100% with it. E for president. So.
Yeah, she's awesome, man. And I also love that they didn't force them into this stupid love triangle shit. Because I feel like if it was live action, if it was like on the CW, it would definitely be this like half a season worth of like relationship drama between them. It's like, yes, she has deep feelings for Mark, but Mark's happy, and she's completely okay with that, and she's doing her own thing like an adult would do, which is something that I really appreciate. Invincible brought up something that I didn't even think of that I think is pretty interesting. Nolan might be in a Rhina type situation from Attack on Titan in terms of being sent to do one specific thing and then getting to know the people of that area and then becoming friends with them and seeing these people as family and loved ones and not being able to necessarily go through with his mission, right? And we see that struggle within him constantly. Like, again, I don't want to jump too far, but at the end of the episode, when he actually realizes that Debbie has figured it out, he doesn't know what to do now. It's like, you're my wife, I love you, but you also can't get in my way. So it's like, what do you guys feel about that? And we can just talk about Debbie going to see Art and having Art analyze the suit and finding all of like the dried blood and all that stuff. So how did you guys feel about that?
I was about to say just Darren, I love the mystery of it, because you see a lot of like dramas or psychological thrillers where like you see a character and they feel like they know something about someone, but they just don't have like that tangible evidence that they've done this heinous deed or whatever the case may be. It might be a loved one, a friend. I like that type of storytelling where someone has to find something out behind their back without them knowing, because the moment they figure it out, they could kill you. I love that little dynamic in this show. That just enough hints were left until Dark Blood, I think that's what's the demon's name.
The Hellboy character?
Yeah. Basically, Hellboy and Sherlock Holmes like mixed into one. But I love that he left the book and like it was just enough just to say, out of all the notes, the costume. It's like, hey, you just got to look at the costume. That's the only evidence that we have. So yeah, I love the rabbit hole that it's going down. I love that she knows that he knows, and he knows that she knows. I love that whole dynamic. And it's just like, what are you going to do? And do you really love this person enough not to kill her? Are you going to tell us like what the true meaning behind whatever you did was for? But I love the fact that it's about to come to a head. And they're about to clash in some way, shape, or form in the living room. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, they found a way to make the Superman archetype interesting. Right. The fact that he isn't a wholly good character and in the first episode, we see him murder an entire superhero team. So that's great storytelling. We were wondering if he is actually capable of killing his wife, because from what we've seen, he's capable of horrible things. So depending on what his true mission is here on Earth, like, will he or won't he kill Debbie? And that just makes the story interesting.
Yeah. I don't know what he's gonna do because he has to be afraid of her saying something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what does he
I'm
do?
surprised he didn't kill Art. Is that the name of his tailor?
Yeah.
When they were drinking the beer on the roof, like I totally thought that was the end of that character.
I mean, I think he might already be dead, man.
That's possible. Yeah, maybe we just
What
didn't
was in the
see it
beer?
on screen.
What was in the beer?
It was
we don't
very
know.
ominous. I will say that.
Yeah, and I think he knows now. He's like, I have to play this very close to the chest because if I make the tailor disappear, like I'm caught. If I make my wife disappear, then Mark's going to find out. So like he's like, it's no longer him being in sole control. But I also really love dynamics of when you have when Joker said to Batman, it's just like you have all that power and nothing to do with it or whatever, because this situation is bigger than your brute strength.
Right.
And he's in that situation now where it's just like, this situation is bigger. You just can't punch your way out of it. So yeah, I love that dynamic, and this show is hitting every mark of it.
I really like the game that Nolan and Cecil are playing with one another because they too know the truth. Cecil knows that it was Nolan that murdered the Guardians of the Globe.
Yeah.
But he's pawning it off on, oh my God, I'm sorry, the characters' names in this show, I have such a hard time remembering them. Dark Blood is the Hellboy character.
Yeah.
So right now they're trying to pawn it off on him until they can use Mark's blood to like find a way to take Nolan down. So like there's this big brain, galaxy brain con going on right now where he's kind of biding his time until he has a solution to kill Nolan, at which point he'll probably reveal that he knew the entire time that it was him, and then they'll attempt to kill him. But in the meantime, they have to like dance around one another whenever they see each other. That's super interesting.
Yeah, I think it's hilarious, dude. Like watching them just like talk to each other is like, we both know, but we can't say anything.
Oh no, agreed. And I love the fact, that they sent his character, they sent Dark Blood back to hell, because it's just like, look, we know who knows, he knows, everyone knows, but we can't have you going around like telling everyone or trying to convince everyone of the truth. So yeah, we need to send you down until we figure out what to do with this character. So I love like the suspense of this show. I love it.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like I just don't know what's going on in Omni-Man's head. Like why would, like in the last episode, right, in episode 5, why would you let Mark almost die? Right? And then even when he was just pretty much on the stretcher, he just flew away. Just like, so I don't know where his head's at, because
I almost think it's a test, man. Like he's testing his limits to see like how injured can he get and still come back from it. Right. Like what is his healing factor like? So I definitely think it's just a test. He's just testing him.
Yeah, it's like,
which is so fucked up as his father. Like that's super fucked up.
Yeah, like do you think he's testing him to see like, are you strong enough to join me? Are you like not strong enough and I should kill you because like you might get in my way? Like I don't know what he's thinking, and that's one of the things that I find the most interesting about Omni-Man is I have no idea what's going on in his head most of the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or he can want him to die. Because maybe the biggest threat to him is Mark. And all right. Yeah. So he's like, maybe he is training him. And even in his inexperience, he's like, hey, if you go through these events, there's a real chance that he could die. And like, if he dies, that might actually in a way kind of help him. Keep his secret.
If he isn't the one that kills him, no one can accuse him of doing so,
Yeah. Like, I really love this show, man. This show has been doing some really, really great stuff. Like, I love the stakes, too. Like, the people that were turned into cyborgs, essentially, what's going to happen to them? Because Mark asks Cecil, like, are you going to be able to help them? And they just said that they're going to try. But it's like, try to do what? Like, their arms were cut off. Pieces of their brains were removed. Like, what are you going
Vocal cords. Like, how can you even help them? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I think in that scene, I think Cecil definitely has some malicious intent. I think he might utilize that technology for himself. At least that's what I grabbed from the scene.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and there's still a lot going on. Like the robot, like we don't know who he's trying to bring back, essentially.
He's cloning Rex, isn't he?
That's what I thought. Like, he's using Rex DNA to make a clone, but for what? And then
I have no idea. I haven't read the comics, so I don't.
Yeah, and it's like, who's the person? I say person, but who is that in the tank already? You know what I mean? Like, what is his MO? Because Pedro brought it up in chat. Like, what are your thoughts on Robot in general? Like, he's another one. I don't know what he's doing. Like, there are times where I feel like he genuinely cares and is trying to help the human race. But then there's other times that I'm not sure as to what he's doing specifically. Like, why does he need Rex's DNA? Why does he need to make clones of anyone? Like, is that person in the tank someone he's trying to bring back to life? Could it be his creator, essentially? Like, I have no idea.
I think it is actually Rex. I think he is cloning Rex completely.
Why though? Like,
I can't answer that question, but you know, I have no idea. Maybe maybe he thinks like Rex is like of a weaker mind or something. I don't know. He'll be able to manipulate him easily. But like, we've gotten hints just from the things that Robot has said that he isn't actually a robot. You know, like there's been little inklings that he might not actually be mechanical, and there's something else going on, and maybe that's why he needs Rex, you know, some type of organic tissue to do God knows what with. We'll find out.
Yeah, and then why does he care so much about Monster Girl too?
Yeah, and I was just about to say that. I think because it was something about what Monster Girl said. Like, Monster Girl was just like, people just sometimes don't understand, like, the fact that, like, I'm essentially dying or reversing age. The more and more I become this. And sometimes that's all they see is this. And I remember like the certain animation where he just looked at Robot's face, where he kind of had a moment where he was just like, I agree, like that this is all people see. He even went to great lengths to send one of his clones to go get the flower, right? To help heal her. So I agree with what you said earlier, James, where like, the robot he has good intentions, but we all know some of the world's best intentions, some of the world's worst things have happened. So I do like his overall character. I just think he has way too many things going on. Like, that's probably my one like negative to the show. Is just like, he's got so much going on. Like, I don't know what to think about his character. Like, is he doing good? Is he doing bad? Is he doing dirt? Is he trying to help people? Did he bring the right people together to be the new Guardians, or is this a ploy for something else? So yeah, his character is very weird to me, but I'm enjoying it so far.
Yeah, that's a great point that you bring up. Why did he choose those people to be the new Guardians? I feel like there would be more powerful people with like better communication skills and better abilities that he could have chosen to be a team of people. Why them, right? Like Rex's power is interesting, like it's very Gambit-like, but like what sets him above a bunch of other heroes that he could have picked, right? Like we have like a Wasp type character as well. Why her? You know what I mean? Like, why did he pick this group of people to be the new Guardians? I don't get it. I have so many questions.
I think when it comes to characters like Rex and the girl that can multiply her bodies.
Yeah,
duplicate. Yes. I think choosing them, he was at least familiar with their power sets and how they work together, coming from, their old team. So that's probably why he chose at least those characters. But in terms of like Monster Girl and all these other superheroes, it's tough to say if he has like ulterior motives or not.
Yeah, it's weird. It's definitely weird on his character. For me, it's just so much. It's like one scene, he's helping somebody. Next scene, he's talking to Cecil about some COVID operation or something. And then the next scene, he's at this tank with the two villains that he let out, or one villain, I should say, that just cloned himself. Let him out of prison. So it's just like there's so many dimensions to his character. So yeah, hopefully in these last two episodes we find out something. But yeah, I'm highly confused on his character. Out of everyone, he's the most confusing one so far.
I do have to say though, Zachary Quinto is doing a great job. It's a great performance.
Another one. Yeah,
he's very robotic. So
yeah,
he gave us Spock.
Exactly, right? Like Spock's pretty much a robot. They were just like, oh yeah, let's just get Zachary Quinto. Just do the same shit.
Go get that Spock guy.
But
he can be logical.
last thing that I wanted to talk about in this episode before we move on to Falcon and Winter Soldier, the ending, right? The security guard from the beginning, we see his stepson and his friend trying to dig up the body of Immortal to, I guess, like, eat a part of his brain to see if they'll get powers. And then
Drink
the
from
twins, drink from the skull, whatever. And then the twins show up. Why do they want Immortal's body? For what? Do they plan to make a clone of Immortal to, like, protect them? Like,
so this,
what's up with that?
This I was unfortunately actually spoiled on. So I do know a little bit about this. So maybe I'll let you guys speculate unless you want me to spoil some things, but it's totally up to you, James.
All right, chat. Mild spoiler. Tell me, just the Cliff Notes version of like why they want Immortal.
You're right. They want Immortal as leverage and protection from Robot.
All right,
but there's something so much deeper going on with Immortal. So
and that's
I'm
not that much
excited
of a,
to see it.
And I feel like that's not too much of a spoiler because like you can kind of like almost put 2 and 2 together because they literally said like, hey, we need leverage. Or we need like, you know, a failsafe just in case something happens. And then they show up at his grave at the end of it. So I guess we could put 2 and 2 together. But yeah, I like to know that my brain it was in the right direction.
Right. And it's like, why wouldn't Robot take this opportunity to maybe clone the Guardians and bring them back? Bring back the Guardians of the Globe, right? Like, why not do that? Why go behind everyone's back, you know?
I think he has selfish motives. That's why. He's not doing this for anybody else but himself.
I'm telling y'all, there's something up with that robot. Remember, you heard it here.
Everyone in this show is evil.
Thanks. Yeah. Amazon is just like, look, if we're doing superheroes, everyone's going to have their good, bad, better, and worse. So Robot ain't there you go, no exception.
Yeah. Any final thoughts before we switch gears?
I love the show. I just love it. I thank you guys for introducing me to it. Amazon is doing waves with the superhero genre with The Boys and now this. Again, I love the art style. The characters have so much depth to them within the matter of 5 or 6 episodes we've watched, 45 minutes apiece. I've enjoyed what I've seen so far. So I'm looking forward to more.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed everything that I've seen as well. I was talking to James a little bit earlier about this episode in particular. I'm not a giant fan of the body horror elements of this episode with all like the dismembering and shit, which is ridiculous to say considering how gory the rest of the show is. But like, there's just something about body horror that gets under my skin. So for those elements of this episode, I was like a little squeamish, but I'm digging the show as a whole. It's awesome.
Yeah, same. I just love that the show constantly subverts your expectations. Like, much like Darren's experience, like, as soon as I saw the end of the first episode, I was like, oh shit, this is not going to be your regular superhero show at all. Like, that's not going to be this. So I love where it's going. I can't wait to see what the next 2 episodes are going to do. Can't wait for season 2, but by then I'll have read the entire comic.
You'll know what's coming.
Because I can't wait. Like when I find something good, I need all of the information right now, and that's what I'm going to do as soon as I see the 8th and final episode of the first season. All right. So it's
only 144 issues. So that's easily bingeable.
Yeah, very. And I will be binging it. I might even take a couple of days from work just to read it all day long, bro. But let's switch it up. I want to spend the last hour that we have here just breaking down this incredible episode of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This episode, after episode 4, once we got to the end of that episode, I was like, how do you even top this, bro? I don't get how you can top this episode. What can you possibly do in these next 2 episodes that will be way better than this, right? And then as soon as the episode starts, I'm like, shit, bro, the score, right? The fight between Bucky, Sam, and John Walker.
John Walker.
It was so powerful watching that fight happen. Like, Darren, I kind of want to start with you. Since you're new to the show, let everyone know in chat, like, what were your thoughts of the first couple of episodes in general? And then again, we'll go into full spoilers on the episode.
Real quick, one of my favorite Marvel film cinematic universe is the Winter Soldier. I still feel like that's the
That's
best
my
solo
favorite
film
one.
that Marvel. Yeah, I still feel like that's the best solo film that they've done without
Facts.
introducing 20 billion other superheroes in it. If it just stands alone as that hero,
Agreed.
I still feel like Winter Soldier is top two. Well, we'll leave room for another one, but top two at least. And for me, this is literally like an extended series of like what Winter Soldier gave us. It gave us the mystery, it gave us the espionage, it gave us the action. But when you found out, things that are going on, the fight scenes didn't disappoint. They had weight, they had story behind it, they had substance. And in a whole, Marvel is proving to us with WandaVision and this that they can flush out so much more of these characters in a matter of just 5 or 6 episodes. Like, it's so good. I thought it was going to be hard to top what WandaVision gave us. And I was like, Falcon and Winter Soldier, I don't know how much I'm going to like. I feel like it's going to be more of what happened in Civil War when they were chasing Spider-Man. While they do give us some joking moments of that, the realism of this show, the gravity, the weight of this show is so good. I do believe that the finale of this is going to hit my expectations more than like what WandaVision gave me, or whatnot. But as a whole, I'm gonna have to let it marinate. But as a whole, the way this finishes, if it's anything like what this has given us, this is my favorite one so far, even though it's only been WandaVision in this one. But I love this series as a whole. It's shattering all of my expectations of what Marvel can give us out of these characters. So yeah, that's my overall of the show.
Yeah, man. This is an incredible show. Much like you, I was like, well, shit. Like, even though WandaVision is the first one, this is already like up there. It's already up there as like one of the pinnacle like properties of the MCU for me. Like, I still stand by that. I think WandaVision is one of the best written things in the MCU, and Falcon and Winter Soldier has jumped straight up there with WandaVision for me. Everything that they haven't shied away from what it's like to be a black superhero in general, a black person
Yes.
in this world, dude. Like, that is the point of this show, and it's so powerful. Like, every time Bucky asks Sam, like, why did you give up the shield? Why did you give up the shield? It's like, you don't get what it's like to be a black person in America. We are instantly seen as bad people sometimes. I can't tell you how many times I've walked into an elevator and everyone moves over to the opposite end of me like they're about to get robbed. I can't tell you how many times I've been walking on the street and people have either crossed the street, clutched their purse. It's ridiculous just because of the color of my skin. You have no idea who I am, dude. And I love that this show explores that. It's not like... And I love the comic. The Sam Wilson Captain America run is amazing, right? And it does go into a lot of deep stuff, much like Falcon and Winter Soldier does. But it's like, Sam doesn't just pick up the shield, oh, I'm Captain America now. I'm Captain America and Falcon now. There's a lot more to it. Will America accept me, right? Do I want to be the symbol of a country that hasn't made it the best place for people of color for years, for hundreds of years, right? So it's like, do I want to be that symbol? And I love that this show puts a lot of emphasis on that topic, bro. And I absolutely love it.
Oh, 1000%. And I wholeheartedly agree with the fact that, like, even if you take the seriousness of what's going on and you put it in pop culture, even us, we have always had, like, a lot of people have always had an issue with some of the things that have been related in theaters. Like, I remember going to see Hunger Games, and people were mad because Rue was black. Like, people were actually mad because Rue was black. I remember when Star Wars, the new trilogy, was coming out, and they saw John Boyega holding a lifesaver. It was like, he better not be the next chosen one. This. We riot. And it's just, I love the fact that this show puts that weight, that, like, they give us that weight. Like, not only in the show, the realism of a black person being a superhero, a police officer, or a fireman, or, a lawyer, or anything in this world, like, it's hard enough for us to be in those spaces. This show also puts into perspective that, like, yeah, even for Anthony Mackie, like, I really feel like there is a weight. Like, yeah, if I'm Captain America, people are going to hate me just because like I don't look like Steve Rogers. I don't look like Chris Evans. So I love to show this. Like, there's a few scenes that just hit on all those fronts of how important it is to have uncomfortable conversations like this. So I love the fact that this show dives into that. Like, Marvel really found a formula that they're able to take superheroes, like fictional characters, and give us real world weight that we deal with in everyday lives, and make it so relatable. So yeah, this show hits on so many levels.
Yeah, James and I speculated that this might be the direction that the show is going in, but I never would have assumed that they would have been brave enough to do it to this degree. And I'm so pleased with it. Like, episode 5 in particular, I think hit home some of those themes the hardest out of any of the other episodes. Even like James and I were talking a little bit about this earlier, but the conversation between Bucky and Sam when they're at his home in Louisiana and they're just throwing the shield around talking to one another, and Bucky apologizes to Sam because he acknowledges the fact that he and Steve had no possible way of understanding what it would have, what type of pressure they were putting on him by handing him the shield. And I think that apology is deserved. You know, he should apologize to Sam for that because it's an insane amount of pressure.
Yeah, like that was so powerful to me. That was one of the many moments that made me tear up a little bit, if I'm being honest. Like, just watching that exchange between them, Bucky's just like realizing it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm a white guy. Like, I walk down the street and no one looks at me any differently, but to hand what is seen as the symbol of America to a black man, they never thought about it like that. And I love that Bucky apologized. I love that he acknowledged the privilege that he has in life, and then just actively being able to see it from a different perspective, seeing everything that Sam is going through, right? I don't want to get there too quickly, but Isaiah tells Sam, like, they'll never let a black man be Captain America. The symbol of America is supposed to be a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white man. Mm-hmm. That is the single image of America. It cannot be you, bro. And then when he says no self-respecting black man would want to take up that shield. Okay. Shield. Since we're already on that topic, let's get into it, right? I'll give my thoughts on that real quick, because Chris asked me, how did I feel about that conversation personally, right? And I told Chris I saw that conversation 2 different ways. In one way, I agreed completely with Isaiah. Like I said before, America is not exactly this place where people of color in general are exactly welcomed, right? Like, we just had another black man murdered again. This shit just doesn't stop, bro. Why would I then want to be the symbol of a country where this is just okay, right? Yeah. But then on the other hand, much like Obama stepping up to be the first African-American president, someone has to stand up and break the mold. Someone has to stand up and say that enough is enough, even though it's easier to sit back and just say, like, nothing is ever going to change. And from Isaiah's standpoint, it's hard to see anything else. He did the exact same thing that Steve Rogers did in the 40s. When he saw that his comrades were imprisoned, he went against orders and went to save them. Cap was praised for it. Isaiah was put into prison and poked and prodded for 30 fucking years, bro. For 30 years. And then they erased him. They erased him for fear of his identity getting out about the super soldier serum, especially knowing what that serum is supposed to mean to America. It definitely couldn't have been a black person in the 50s. It definitely couldn't be the symbol. And it just shows how things haven't changed. So I have been of 2 minds of this. So Darren, I want to start with you. Like, how did you feel about that conversation between Isaiah and Sam?
It got to a point for me where I stopped hearing superhero names and things like that. Like, it just became a conversation between 2 black for me. Like it got to a point where I was just like, if you would have showed me that scene anywhere else, I'm like, this is not a Marvel show. Like, this is not, like, I'm used to the cars, the explosions, and all that great stuff. The gravity of that conversation hit me so hard, especially when he was talking about, when he told him, he was just like, Sam was like, man, like, why not come out now? We could change things. And Isaiah told me, it's like, bro, like, the fact that you're here right now means things haven't changed. The fact that you're talking to me means things haven't changed. Like them erasing 30 years, they've erased 500 years of things that have happened to us. He was like, you think you're any different because you're holding a white man's shield? When he said that,
bro,
like the weight of it just hit. It's just like, yo, we don't care if this is Marvel or superheroes or you're just, someone in the streets. Like, it's the same outcome. It's the same thought process. It's like, you think just because you have wings, you have superpowers, this, they're going to look at your skin any differently? There's not a superpower to make them look at you differently. Just a few episodes prior, when they got pulled over, and they looked at Sam first until like, oh crap, he's an Avenger. If it wasn't for that, who knows what that scene would have become?
Right.
So when they had that conversation and Isaiah had to break it down to him, like, yeah, like, I've done these things for my country only to come back and be hated. Like, and that hit me so hard because talking to my dad, my grandpa, or anyone that I grew up with and hearing different stories that they've gone through, like, it feels the same. And I love that we're having this conversation in a Marvel show, that we can still have quote unquote pop culture and entertainment and real conversations in that and walk out with something. Bucky knew the weight of what happened to Isaiah. That's why he didn't tell anyone about it. But Bucky was still ignorant to understanding truly what happened to him, what psychologically happened to him. And that's why he apologized to Sam. He's like, you know what? It's full circle now. I understand it. I get it. Shannon Sharp recently said that, like, yo, for you to be around Black people, and not fully understand what they're going through, you don't have Black friends. You just know Black people. And there's a true difference between that. And Bucky kind of had that realization. It's just like, yeah, like, I know, like, I believe I know Sam, but it took all the way up to this point. Like, you know what? I get it. Like, I was selfish to say that, like, you gave up the shield, for your reasons without me fully understanding the gravity of why you did it. And
Right.
You weren't fully able to tell me those things. You didn't know how to express yourself because I just came at you sideways the entire time. And Bucky's character has had so much growth living in Wakanda, him getting their resources, eating their food, giving him free mental and physical health care to get out of the confines of his mind. That's literally what Wakanda offered him. So to see the growth in Bucky, to truly understand what Black people go through in this country, like, when he says, I'm sorry, I truly appreciated that I'm sorry, because you understood the weight of what he did and what he brought to the table. But that conversation between Isaiah and Sam, for people that don't fully get it, go back and listen, truly listen to that conversation. Take out the Captain Americas, take out the Falcons, take out the Winter Soldiers, take out everything, and just listen to two Black men have that conversation. It hit on so many fronts. Damn, I love this show. Let's go.
Yeah, man. Like, you brought it up, right? Back in episode 4, where Sam and Bucky were just having a conversation. Police pull up. All they see is a loud Black dude. That's all they see. They don't see two people having a conversation. They see a loud Black dude potentially harassing a white man. That's all they see.
Doesn't Bucky even have to say, like, don't you guys know who this is?
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
It's absolutely ridiculous. Chris and I had a long conversation about a lot of stuff in this episode. And Chris, I want you to give your perspective on this entire scene, because I loved our conversation earlier. So I want you to tell the viewers, like, how you viewed this scene between Sam and Isaiah.
yeah, so I want to make clear that, like, this is a super powerful scene and I really enjoyed watching it, but there's no way that I can get the same power out of it that you guys can get, right? But just from listening to the conversation between Isaiah and Sam, I was telling James that Isaiah looks at the shield and all he can see is the atrocities that he's experienced over the course of his lifetime. How the United States government has absolutely failed him time and time and time and time again. So for him, the shield is evil. There's nothing good about that shield. It just represents how the US government has failed an entire people. The difference, though, is that when Sam looks at the shield, and why you can see the heartbreak, I think, on Sam's face when Isaiah tells him that no self-respecting black man would ever take up that mantle, is because Sam has such an emotional attachment to the shield. When Sam looks at the shield, he doesn't think about all those atrocities. All he thinks about is a good man, a hero, and a friend. So he sees Steve Rogers when he looks at the shield. He doesn't see the United States of America. And that's why I think Sam himself, being so close to Steve Rogers and like sharing a similar disposition to Steve Rogers, even Zemo says that like he's as stubborn as Steve Rogers was in this episode. That's why I think Sam is the perfect Captain America. He's like the perfect person to pick up the shield because he himself doesn't have to be tied to the United States government, just like Steve was. You know, John Walker is like the bastardization of what Captain America is when under the thumb of the United States government. But Sam could be like Steve was as Nomad. You know, after the Winter Soldier, Steve has no affiliation with the United States government. And we haven't talked about this, but I really liked Julia Louis-Dreyfus's cameo because in that conversation with John Walker, she kind of sneakily says that the shield doesn't really belong to the United States government. Yep. Which further implies that he could absolutely become the next Captain America and not have to answer to them whatsoever. So he can like truly embody the same things that Steve embodied when he was holding the shield, which is, you know, goodness, being a hero, and just being a good man in general, which is what, to me, Captain America is supposed to represent, not what Isaiah Bradley sees it as or what John Walker sees it as. But I think this episode was hugely impactful in pushing Sam in that direction and making him become like truly what Captain America is supposed to represent. Like I told James, yeah, America's in the moniker, but he doesn't have to be affiliated with the nation or with the government. It's just the moniker, you know?
Yeah, I'm gonna let you know now. The moment Sam puts on that suit,
I'm excited, dude.
Puts on this, I will cry.
I think so, dude. Know. I think
I will cry, and it's not just because like, so you know, in Endgame, spoiler for anyone who hasn't seen Endgame, but when he gets the shield at the end of Endgame, you're just like, yeah, you know, that's a proud moment. But like, there wasn't too much weight behind it because most of us are just like, oh, it's, you know, it happens in the comic books. That's the answer to everything. It happens in the comic books. And some people just don't respect Sam's character in general all throughout like most of the films. They're just like, oh, Falcon's a throwaway, whatever.
Right.
Yeah, like a lot of people have thought that or whatever. This show, for one, I don't think he needed a lot of like the hype for this show, but this show definitely gives him that legitimacy. I believe he already had it beforehand, but this show definitely gives him that. So now when he finally really picks up the shield, like you're gonna feel that weight. Like at the end of Endgame, it was cool. Don't get me wrong. Like that movie was amazing and what they did. But the way he's gonna pick up the shield this time, knowing the struggles of not only being Captain America, but the main struggles of being not only a Black Captain America, but the struggles of being Black in general. Just being Black. Like, yo, he literally could have said, I fought Thanos when the cops pulled him over. Like, do you know who I am? Like, that doesn't even help you. So this time when he picks up the shield, like anyone that hasn't watched the show that's like, I don't agree with this, I will fight him. Look, Sam's got my back. Like, I love the fact that Sam had to go on this mental and spiritual journey to kind of figure out like not only what the shield means to the country and the world, what the shield means to him, but how he can take that shield and hold truth to a lot of the things that he believes it represents, while still changing a lot of things in culture. So this show, damn it, this show. So yeah.
I was telling James earlier that I think this episode in particular is some of Anthony Mackie's strongest work
Oh my God.
in the entirety of the MCU.
Yes.
Like by the end of the episode, you can even see kind of a shift in his posture. Like he is Captain America now, despite wearing the costume or holding the shield or whatever. Like by the end of this episode, he believes he's Captain America, and that's what's most important. And at the beginning of the show, he did a great job of like having to mull over what the shield means for all these people. But now that we're here at the penultimate episode, you can see that he's like actively changing the way he stands to be the embodiment of what the shield is supposed to represent at its best, not at its worst, you know?
Exactly. Something that really resonated with me was I can't remember his name right now, but the flag smasher that was talking to Carly at the graveyard, right? Where he was talking about being a Captain America fanboy, and in this day and age, like the people need someone like them, and that's Carly. That's also Sam Wilson. Yeah, because he is he's just a human being. He's just a good man, right? And at the end of Endgame, like I saw that movie so many times, and it wasn't until the second time when Steve tells Sam right before he leaves, "You're a good man, Sam." It wasn't until the second time I was like, yes, bro. Much like Dr. Erskine, it doesn't matter about you being the perfect soldier. It's about you being a good man. And that's why I'm giving you the shield. You are a good man.
And that's why John Walker fails. Because he desperately wants to be a good man. He wants nothing more than to be a good man. But he's been, a soldier his entire life. And despite wanting to be a good man, he never can come out on top. He can never make it happen. He always makes the wrong choice.
Yeah. And I think this show, and that's another thing this show brings, the weight and the gravity of being an Avenger and being like making those decisions in the heat of moment. And John Walker obviously didn't have that. I love the fact that this show does kind of make you understand also like how good of a character Chris Evans, Steve Rogers was. And a lot of decisions, like a lot of decisions that he made. So this show definitely puts in light something that I've wanted Marvel to do for a long time, which is just give their characters weight, like give their characters substance, and make it real. So now I am excited to see what a Miss Marvel will do, or what a Riri Williams series will do. Armor Wars. I'm excited to see like what they bring to this character, what they bring to these characters of color, and just minorities, and just different. It just comes from all walks of life, because Marvel understands now the importance of this. They didn't. There was a time where Marvel did not get it. So I love the fact that, you know what, they're listening, and they're kind of somewhat making up for that now with putting a lot of these different situations that a lot of us go through in our everyday lives. Just because we're not out, beating up aliens or, trying to save the world from X, Y, and Z. Yeah, me as a person that works in retail deals with the same thing as someone else that's a doctor, or someone else that's a professional dog walker. I don't care. Like, if you are a person of color, like there are certain things you deal with that other people just don't. And this show shined a much needed spotlight on a dark area in our country. So yeah, this show, all right, now it's solidified. I think I do like the show better than WandaVision. But yeah, this show definitely hits on a lot of points that just needed to be discussed. And I'm just glad it was discussed in this manner to where anyone can watch it, whether if it's a 5-year-old or someone that's 100 years old and everyone in between, and they can get behind the message in a way that makes it easy for you to digest. Sometimes it's not easy to digest, but this show makes it easier for you to digest that message.
Definitely. Yeah. So on the topic of John Walker, right? So let's jump back to the beginning real quick. We get that really, really fun fight sequence between Sam, Bucky, and John Walker, watching Sam and Bucky use the shield together against John Walker. That warmed my heart. I love that. Them unfortunately having to break his arm to literally rip the shield away from him, which is what Sam didn't want to do. Like, they had that conversation, like, we can't just jump him and take the shield. Yeah, we
they
kind of
did it.
have to.
Yeah, we can.
You know what I mean?
Dude, the first time I watched the episode, I didn't even realize they broke his arm. It was the second
really?
viewing where with his scream, I was like, oh, that's right. He's in a sling in the next scene. Damn, they fucking broke his arm.
Dislocated something. I heard the pop.
Yeah, there was a pop.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah. But I love, my favorite part of that scene, honestly, was the very beginning where John Walker was like, you don't want to do this. And then Bucky looks down, looks up, and he's like, yeah, we do. Like that, when I tell you, I rewind that one scene like 8 times when he's just like, you don't want to do this. And he's just like, yeah, we do. Because you just
Bucky
understand
especially.
the weight. Yes.
He's brought up stealing the shield multiple times over the course of the show. So I'm glad he's the one to deliver that line, because he's been like itching to get the shield back from John Walker.
Because he understands it now. Like it comes back full circle. He understood one side of it where it was just like what that shield meant to his best friend.
Right.
What that shield meant, because he was raised with Steve Rogers. And he understood what that meant, but he completely like just didn't understand the other side of why Sam did what he did. So I think when he says that, yeah, we do, he truly means like, not just for me, not just for Steve, not just for Sam, but also like I understand the weight of him being a black man. Like I understand the weight of X, Y, and Z. So when it's just that part when he says, yeah, we do. Like he gets it now. Even though he lived in Wakanda. And he should have
for 2 years
understood more then. Yes. Like when he says, yeah, we do, he finally understands that like, yeah, like I need to take this shield back for everything that it should represent. So yeah.
That's it, right? What the shield should represent. Like that's the point. It's not what it does represent with how America sees it. Sam has to be the one to break the mold. He has to be the one to keep fighting and to make actual change, at least be a part of that fight and do his part, right? But on the topic of John Walker, this episode made me really empathize with him, and I hate it, right? Like,
I know.
Every single scene he was in, I'm like, shit, well, I kind of feel really bad for him in
dude,
terms
Wyatt
of certain
Russell's
things.
Killing it.
Yeah, his
like
acting
despite
is
the fact
amazing in
that
this.
despite the fact that we hate John Walker as a character, there are levels to his performance that he's delivering an excellent performance. And you do feel bad for him. I felt bad for him too. And I too was like, God, I really don't like saying that. But like the government turned him into what he is and then completely abandoned him the first chance that they got.
Right.
And you know what? I obviously am not a soldier, but like I think that actually happens to a lot of people. You know, they're molded by the military, and then when they go back to civilian life, some of them end up becoming homeless, you know, like, and they're just not taken care of the way that they should be taken care of. And that's terrible, man. You feel bad for him.
Yeah, you bring up a great point. Like, this is the other thing. If it wasn't on camera and he killed all of them, the government wouldn't care. They would give him a medal. He would have another Medal of Honor. If he murdered all of them and it wasn't on camera, the headlines would just read, Captain America saves everyone from the terrorist organization, the Flag Smashers. But because it was on camera, it now has become a PR nightmare, and this is what they have to do. And then the thing is, they just let him out on the streets. Yes, they don't know that he has the super soldier serum in him, but the fact that, like, there's a part of me that wanted him to get arrested, and then there's another part of me that's like, well, that's not really fair to him because this is what you sent him to do, right? He did only what you wanted him to do, what you trained him to do, and simply because it became a PR mess, now you don't want anything to do with him. He's been stripped of his rank. He's been stripped of any titles, any benefits. He has nothing. Everything he's fought for. He's lost friends. He's put his life on the line. Lamar's dead. His best friend.
I know.
The one person that believed that he was a good man. He's all dead. I love that scene in the beginning where he's just saying, why didn't I listen? Because Lamar didn't want him to go into that room. Lamar wanted to just let Sam talk to Carly, and maybe it wouldn't have ended up that way. He blames himself for not listening, and he's just a human being. He's someone that wants to do good, but he's a fuck up, right? But that doesn't mean that the government should just shun these people. Now you've created a villain against America. You've created this. Darren, how do you feel?
I'm right there with you. I really feel like I hate the fact they made me care for him in this episode. I was like, I just want to hate him.
He murdered a man, and we feel bad for him.
But like for me, like when he said just that one line, like, you built me, like you made me this. And you notice throughout the show when he has to make his own decisions, like no orders are given, decisions like that he has made for himself. Yeah, he messes up almost every single time. He sees the super soldier serum, like no one tells him or orders him to do anything with it. He's like, oh man, I think I'm gonna take it or whatever. People try to tell him, like, Lamar tried to tell him, don't go in the room. Give Sam his time. Goes into the room. He messes up. And then when he had to run in with the baddest women on the planet in the last episode, and
the Dora gave him the work, bro.
And they want to talk about jurisdiction.
He like the moment where he's like, they weren't even super soldiers. He sounds like a fucking
off, bro.
toddler.
Like, man, they weren't even super soldiers.
Yeah.
So whiny.
He learned on so many fronts that, like, yo, being an Avenger or being in his life or whatever, like being an Avenger is a thug life. You got to be ready to deal with essentially whatever when it's thrown at you. And when he had to make decisions on his own, he essentially didn't know what to do. So I believe when he says that line, like, you built me, you made me this or whatnot. And he talked about like the medals that they got. And he was like, well, they don't know what are behind those medals. Mm-hmm. Like the things that were made, the decisions that gone into receiving those medals. He folded.
He says something like, they gave me a medal so I would never forget the hardest day of my life.
Yeah, something. Yeah, exactly. And I do believe like that scene at the podium when he was like, no, listen to me. Allow me to talk. Allow me to tell my side. And they didn't allow him to do that. I felt for him in that moment. He thought he was kind of doing what was right. And then when Lamar told him, like, no, the serum probably makes you more of what you are. He thought he was a good person, only to find out he's not. And he found out at the worst time that he's not a good man. He's not a good person. So
even Lamar thought he was a good person. You know, they grew up together in the military.
Yeah, to the very end. So yeah, I like the dynamic of his character in this episode. It definitely added a lot of weight that was needed. I liked it.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And then the next scene, we see Sam and he's talking to Torres about everything that's going on. We find out that the government has taken over jurisdiction of everything. And he leaves Torres with the wings, which is very, very interesting because Torres becomes the Falcon in the comics when Sam Wilson becomes Captain America. So it's like Torres is going to fix the wings and potentially become Falcon later on in the MCU or a version of that. That's amazing.
Right?
Dude, when Sam turned to the camera and like he's almost looking down the barrel of the camera basically, and he's like, you keep him. I got huge Rhodey vibes in Iron Man 1 where he looks at the War Machine armor or the second armor and he's like, next time, baby. Like it's just a huge Easter egg to the comic book fans. And it's so silly. It really is almost this like trope that's been happening where like characters will stare at the screen or at the camera and just like announce themselves as what their comic book name is. But I love it. It's so much fun. You keep them.
And you could tell like throughout, I think it was more of episode 1 and 2 when he was kind of making some plays on like, flying or being Falcon. You could kind of tell like, he had an interest in, he already has an interest in the technology. So when he had the wings and he told me, it was like, you keep them. I was just like, Marvel just knows how to give you those passing of the torch superhero moments, like so indirectly, it's ridiculous. But you feel like it spoke to your spirit in the comic book realm. You're just like, oh, I felt that moment. But
that hits me in my nerd soul.
Yeah.
Right? But to anyone else, it's just a moment.
That took me back to Winter Soldier.
Means nothing.
That took me back to Winter Soldier, where Sitwell name drops Stephen Strange. I was like,
Oh,
hold
yeah,
up,
yeah.
hold up,
Wait, I'm
Stephen
sorry,
Strange,
wait.
what?
I know we're in the theater, but can you roll that back?
He said the thing.
So
All right,
yeah, it's like that was something you hear in like a post-credit scene,
right?
and then it turns to him, and it just gives him a look like, oh, and he just becomes a Falcon. But whatever, I enjoyed that little 2-second moment.
It was great. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was awesome. And then during that conversation, Bucky kind of just walks off, and he's going after Zemo. I did not think he would find Zemo that quickly. I thought that would be like in episode 6. I figured we would get some Zemo closure then, but that only tells me that we have way too much shit to do in the final episode, that we need to wrap stuff up with Zemo right now. And Zemo is such an interesting character, and Daniel Bruhl plays him so great. Like, I just love that he's constantly pushing Bucky's buttons to see what he would do, because Zemo's entire motive is to get rid of the serum, to get rid of all super soldiers, and Bucky's a part of that. But even in his limited time being with Bucky, he sees that Bucky has the values of a good man, which is why he says, I've decided not to kill you. What that really means is that he sees Bucky as a good person, and he doesn't have to worry about what Bucky's going to do having all of that power. And I love when Bucky raises the gun, and pretty much Zemo is accepting the death that he think he's going to get, and Bucky's like, no, I'm not gonna kill you. I am not that murdering machine that I used to be when I was programmed by Hydra. I loved that moment. And then just turning him over to the Dora. So Darren, like, how did you feel about that moment? Like, how was it like impactful for you?
For me, it took me right back to the Civil War moment, where T'Challa says, like, the living aren't done with you yet. And I'm telling you, I thought Bucky was going to say, like, the living are still not done with you. I thought he was going to give us that line. I really thought it was going to happen. But when I tell you that moment where he takes and he drops all the bullets, and he tells him, he's just like, look, I'm not going to, he's like, I'm officially like closing the chapter on my book where I am controlled. And like, I'm not killing people, like, just to cross them off a list. I do love the fact he said, hey, I crossed my name off of your list. I do like that.
Name off.
Yeah.
I also love that the book is red too. Like, it's
right?
it's such a good like Easter egg to the red book that used to control him, and now this red book is the key to his freedom, bro. Oh my god.
So I love that moment where he doesn't shoot him, he drops the bullets, and then Dora Milaje in the most humbling way, because it was like, yo, I want to execute you for killing the king. That shows you the beautiful power of my people, because they literally said, like, he's gonna go to the raft to live out the rest of his days. Like, they earned every right to literally execute this man, and they don't. They literally say, like, long as this man is held somewhere where he can no longer have the chance to do this to somebody else, that is good enough for us. So that speaks within itself. But that scene, that moment, it took me back to Civil War. It's like he can't find death because the living aren't done with him yet. So yeah, when T'Challa delivered that line, it stood true then, and it stood true in this scene too.
Yeah.
Prior to the Dora Milaje saying that they're going to take Zemo to the raft, I love the way that the scene's edited, because it's almost like Bucky pulling the trigger is him sending the Dora Milaje after Zemo. Like, he's not going to hit him with bullets. He's going to hit him with something way worse, which is handing him over to Wakanda. But I love the fact that they're taking him to the raft, because that sets his character up perfectly to fall right into the hands of Thunderbolt Ross.
Yep.
Like, in the comics, Zemo is one of the leaders of the Thunderbolts.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, the pieces are all falling into place. We're absolutely getting something Thunderbolts related, whether it's a show or a movie.
Give us a show.
Yeah,
show.
I think they'll do a show for sure. But the thing is like, how will Zemo work with Ross, knowing that Ross has been experimenting with different forms of the serum for years? Will he try to destroy everything that Ross has? Like, how is that going to work? Right? That's what I'm curious about.
maybe like a double cross at some point. I mean, we're writing scripts for things that haven't even been announced.
Yeah, right.
Facts.
Like he could work under Ross in the Thunderbolts and then like double cross him and destroy Super Soldier Serum or something. I don't know. We'll see.
It's
we'll
in
see
the
what
works.
happens.
Marvel has stuff probably planned out to like 2057 at this point, as far as
It's all in
like,
Kevin Feige's head.
Yeah, man.
TV shows
The
and
dude's a
movies go.
genius.
So 100%. It's almost as if Marvel knew a pandemic was coming, because most of the TV shows and Disney Plus were announced or already out before the pandemic started. So it's almost as if they knew we were about to enter this time. So they are in a great space right now where a bunch of these TV shows can do waves and they can flush out so much out of these TV shows. What this show has given us, WandaVision was special. I will never take anything away from WandaVision. But what this show gave us, or is currently giving us, is something that hits home to me in so many ways. And I love the fact we're not picking out fight scenes or explosions. Most of the things we're picking out are conversations.
Yeah, character moments.
Character moments. Most of the things we're talking about are character moments. Like WandaVision was 3/4 dialogue.
Yeah.
And it worked. It was 3/4 dialogue and it worked to the finale. And even the finale, the best scene to me in the finale was the dialogue between the two Visions.
I know.
Yeah.
Yes.
The thought experiment about the ship of Theseus. Yeah.
So I love the fact we're talking about like, oh, this is my favorite quote, or this is my favorite moment. It's not a punch. It's not, bullets flying. It's actually when he didn't shoot this person. Or we're talking about this. I love the fact that these shows are giving us real moments with characters that can hit home for us. So yeah.
Yeah, just to keep going on that, and I want to touch on something Pedro brought up in chat real quick, but the fact that like we're talking about all of these amazing dialogue moments, everything going on between Sam and Sarah and the boat. But before we get, that's going to be the next thing that we talk about. But I want to answer Pedro's question real quick. How do we feel about Madam Hydra? I am now starting to think that she is the power broker.
It's very possible.
I am now starting to think that. Like, a lot of people are doubling down that Sharon is the power broker because of, she gets Batroc out of prison. Mm-hmm. She sets him up to go after the GRC. But I feel like that's low-hanging fruit, bro. Like, she's been working in the underground. She has to be working in the gray area. There are certain things that she has to do. And even though Batroc's whole thing is to kill Sam, she knows in her mind that Batroc does not possess the ability to kill Sam Wilson, so it doesn't even matter.
Right.
He is a means to an end, and then he'll end up back in prison as soon as she gets what she wants. So I think that Madam Hydra could potentially be the power broker. The fact that she is all-knowing. We already saw that sign on like the side of this building where the power broker is always watching. How does she know that John Walker took the serum? How does she know all of these different things? Because the power broker is always watching. What do you guys think?
Dude, I want her to be the power broker. That would be awesome. Because even that short scene with Julia Louis-Dreyfus, like, what a fun performance. Like, I was so excited to see her in the show. And to your point about Sharon possibly being the power broker, I don't think it makes sense anymore. Because if she sent Batroc to the Flag Smashers, the power broker has been hunting the Flag Smashers the entire show. So if she already knew where they were, that wouldn't make any sense. That would go against what the show's been telling us the whole time. So I think it's more likely that Val is the power broker than Sharon. But I don't know if you guys are aware of this. Variety published an article saying that Julia Louis-Dreyfus was actually supposed to appear in Black Widow. And we know that Black Widow was originally supposed to come out prior to this show. It was supposed to be Black Widow and then the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I definitely think they're building her character to be something larger in the greater MCU. But I don't know if we're still going to see her in Black Widow when it comes out. Maybe they've made some like edits or something to remove her, considering that this show came out first. But originally that was supposed to be the plan. So
I didn't know that. That's really interesting.
I think she's going to be something bigger in this universe.
Yeah. And I think it's funny that, like, because we know when Marvel pushes dates back on a lot of these things, because essentially they have to come out in some certain type of order for post-credit scenes or for just keep continuation with like some stories. But that's interesting that you say that. That's a good way to kind of tie it back in. Like we already knew WandaVision was going to go into Doctor Strange.
Right.
So to say for that to be said, like that would make sense of how to tie this into maybe Black Widow and to maybe future events, wherever the case may be. I just love the part where she sat down and she handed the card
There's nothing on it.
even looking, but without even looking, like just handed the card and kept the conversation going smooth. Also, I noticed like she had a stream of purple hair, also, which kind of made me think of Agnes in a sense.
Yeah.
Hey, I was just like, oh, we're going there. Mephisto. That's Mephisto.
Mephisto confirmed. Yo,
that's Mephisto, right
okay.
there.
You heard it here first.
Now that you've brought this up, Darren, we've been known to speculate wildly about characters appearing in these shows. James, I hate to say it, but I think the Zola train is over. I think there's no possible way Zola's coming into the show.
So on the last show, we were also speculating that Zola could potentially be the power broker as well. Like, how would this person have Carly's number? How would this person be able to find Carly and the Flag Smashers no matter where they go? Because they're constantly connected to a network, Zola. But I'm now leaning more towards Allegra. So we'll see.
I'm still saying it's Mephisto. I'm going with that answer so I'm blue in the face.
Mephisto's going to be in every show.
My one actual, because I was having this conversation with some people on Clubhouse. They were just like, all right, going into the show, we all had like fan theories. What is your one big fan theory going into the show? Like, I looked up nothing about it. I'm doing that for Low Key. I'm doing that for all the other shows. So it might have been out there beforehand, but I said my number one want, I was like, I want Wakanda to be in this show in some way, shape, or form. I was like, this was the man. Yeah. I was like, this was the man that took their king, that literally brought that to the forefront. That brought T'Challa into the forefront. Our Black Panther, I should say. So yeah, I wanted Wakanda to be in the show, and that like I got my wish, gang. But I don't have any other real big fan theories for this one. Low key, I got 1,000. But this one was kind of straightforward compared.
It's a more grounded show. Yeah.
This was more straightforward compared to WandaVision and potentially what Loki can give us, which I feel like every 30 minutes that's going to blow our minds. But I didn't really have too many big fan theories for this one.
Loki has something that no other MCU property has: a clean slate with no expectations. Since from the moment that the events of the first Avengers movie ends, everything is up in the air because we are now living in a completely different timeline. Everything can be different. They can do literally whatever they want with this show. They don't have to worry about continuity. They don't have to worry about it connecting to anything else. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. It's going to be awesome.
And I think this is a great time for them to probably, if not rewrite, but kind of like retcon some things and just like, maybe clean up some areas of the timeline that, fans may not have agreed with. Pretty much they can have like Days of Future Past moments throughout this film. So I'm excited for Loki and the time traveling show that this is about to be.
Yeah, it's going to be dope. All right, so let's get into the moments between Sam and Sarah. Like, Sarah is slowly becoming like one of my favorite characters because she grounds Sam. Like, she's her own strong, confident, independent woman, but she still also looks to her brother as well, right? So I love their relationship, and she just has this like really jaded outlook on life because things, again, haven't been exactly great for people of color in America, right? And she's trying to deal with everything with the family business and trying to raise her kids and doing all of these different things. So I love every moment that we have with them together. And Sam just realizing that I need to take a step back. There's nothing I can do now that the government has taken jurisdiction right now until I get more information. I need to go help my family. And just slowing it down just a little bit more, having Sam spend that time with his nephews, with his sister, trying to fix up the boat, calling in those favors from everyone that their parents have helped to try to fix up the boat so that they can sell it, and then deciding not to sell it. Bucky being on the boat, helping them.
I love
Sam
that.
and Bucky starting to actually feel like friends. Like, that was like one of my favorite moments of the entire episode. What did you guys think about that?
I loved it. These are the quieter moments that I really like that the show is delivering. You know, because it's long form storytelling, we get to spend way more time with these characters and flesh them out more as people. And just watching Sam and Bucky chill, fixing up a boat, drinking some brews, like becoming closer as people. I love every single second of it. Bucky flirting with Sarah is hilarious. But I just love that the show gives them these longer moments to connect with one another.
Same.
And I don't want to push us too far out of this boat scene. I want to talk about the scene again between Bucky and Sam kind of counseling Bucky in a way. But we'll stick to the boat scene for now.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun. I love the fixing up the
because
boat montage.
Yeah, we'll get there because that sequence between Sam and Bucky towards the end of the episode is actually my favorite moment of all of the 5 episodes so far. So we'll definitely get there. But just them fixing up the family boat, like, Darren, how did that work for you? Like, watching the community come together to try to do something.
Well, it holds a special place in my heart. I'm from Louisiana, so just to see how they because that's real. Southern hospitality is a real thing, and it's just like, if you did something for a neighbor or someone up the street 5 years ago or 10 years ago, whatever the case may be, if your name holds up in that neighborhood or that community, they'll be there for you. And when they'll come over, they'll tell you like, oh man, I knew your dad from this, and this. Here's 10 billion plates of food, or here's the help and the labor that you need. So that is a true thing to its core, that us Louisianians, if it's a tight-knit community, and like they're there for one another, where multiple generations were raised in the neighborhood, they'll be there for each other. And they'll always swap stories about, different nieces, nephews, cousins, friends, or coworkers, whatever the case may be. So for me, that scene kind of hit home. I felt like, figuratively and literally, it hit home, because I felt like I was home watching that scene. I'm totally here for Sarah and Bucky.
I want it.
I'm totally here for it.
Right? Like, Spicy brought that up on Twitter, and I was thinking in my mind, like, Bucky spent so much time with so many baddies in Wakanda. Of course he has a taste for spice, bro. As soon as he saw Sarah, he started smiling. Hi, I'm Bucky.
Hey. Like,
dude, I thought there may have been something going on between him and Io, but maybe it's more platonic.
Yeah, I think it's more platonic.
Yeah, that was definitely a business arrangement. But I do love. They
seem close though. She does call him James.
Yes.
At one point. So.
Yeah, I'm totally here for it. But that boat scene, it was good because, again, I like when shows can kind of break away from the Marvel content, or just shows in general can break away from whatever their traditional content is, and just kind of give you those loving, wholesome moments just between family. Our friends, or whatever the case may be. And that scene definitely kind of took you out of the whole, like, they just fought Thanos, they just came back from the blip, or they just fought Hydra. Like, you just took some people that sat boat side drinking some beers and just having a good time. So I vibe with that scene a lot.
It's almost like the farmhouse scene in Age of Ultron. I think it's better than the farmhouse scene. But or even like the party scene at the beginning of Age of Ultron, just these moments where we get to see our heroes being normal people. Yeah, that's what Marvel. That's always been Marvel's strength. We've talked about it before. Like, Marvel is about your average Joe gaining superpowers and doing something positive with it. So the fact that they take the time to do this in these shows, it really just harkens back to like what the company's always kind of been about.
Yeah, I love the scene where Sam is just running around training. Actually, no, it's actually the scene where Bucky's sleeping on the couch and he wakes up and Sam's nephews are playing with the shield. It's like, dude, this is so important. It's so simple, but it's so important because I don't know how to say this, but it just feels like in a different time, like, it just wouldn't be acceptable for them to even touch that shield. And right now, if you ask the wrong person, it still wouldn't be acceptable for them to touch the shield. But in a way, it kind of opens Bucky's mind, like, the point of this shield is to be a symbol of hope for people in general. And look at these little kids seeing this shield as hope, because their Uncle Sam is the one wielding it. It's so powerful, bro.
There's that scene where his nephew's like tracing the star on the shield.
Oh
It's
my
super,
god.
super awesome.
And you never thought, like, you think in this day and age in 2021, like, I mean, if you look at the American flag, like there are right now 17 different meanings for all people. I mean, people around the world of what that flag represents. But that small, like 2-second scene to see him kind of tracing the star on it, like that matters, because like sometimes growing up in the neighborhoods or the areas that like they grew up in, because I have friends that grew up in similar situations or whatnot, they have to put hope in something. They have to put belief in something when there's not a lot around you. So for them to say that, like, yo, my uncle is like Captain America, and he's holding those truths, and he's upholding it, and like that moment was real. It mattered for me.
Yeah, I also love that sequence with Sam and Sarah just talking next to the boat, where she tells him she doesn't want to sell the boat. It means too much to their legacy. And then she's just like, are you really going to sit there and let what Isaiah said influence you? Like, are you just going to let that happen? Like, you have a duty. I've never seen you run away. You've only run towards the danger. You've only run towards helping people, and that's what you need to continue doing. And that's what he wants to do. He wants to continue to fight for what's right, and that's the important part about being Captain America. And then watching that training montage of him throwing the shield around, flipping around in different ways, trying to figure it out, like, that was another moment that made me tear up a little bit, man, because this is something that I only thought I would see in a comic book. Right? I never thought I would see this live action, watching Sam Wilson, Captain America, throwing around the shield because it is his. He is training with his shield. He is the symbol, bro. That was so powerful for me. And like you said, Chris, watching his nephews trace the star, bro. Like I was tearing up the entire time. It's such a powerful and important moment of this series as well as the episode.
I completely agree. I'm excited to see Anthony Mackie play Captain America in movies.
Yeah, dude.
Because I don't think everybody's watching the Marvel shows, but it's like absolutely going to be real once we see him in like an Avengers movie as Captain America. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and I think we got to get to a point where sometimes this happened with Black Panther, where it's like everyone went to see Black Panther, but no one knew kind of like the story going into it beforehand with Civil War or whatnot. While that one doesn't hold as like that shift from Civil War to Black Panther is not going to be at the same level as what it's going to be with like Sam moving into whatever the film is, because the weight is there because we grew with Sam in this TV show.
Right.
I would recommend anyone before seeing any new Captain America film, watch this show.
Oh yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Watch this show. We let it slide when y'all didn't see Civil War and you went directly to Black Panther. We let that go. But this one, you cannot do that. Like, there are going to be people out there now, and everyone's going to see it. We're just like, I don't want a Black Captain America. I don't want this, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, I need you to watch this show because they talked about you. They definitely talked about you in this show. So I before any new movie comes out with them, I will say, hey, educate yourself, because I can say that about this show. Educate yourself and watch this show beforehand.
Dude, I'm excited to see Sam as Captain America because unlike Steve, he's just a man, you know? So I feel like that makes him even more inspirational because he doesn't have superpowers. I didn't mention this earlier when we were talking about the fight at the beginning of the episode, but in that fight, when he's facing off against Walker, there's real tension because John Walker has the super soldier serum inside of him. But I love how you can see that Sam, even being a man, is still very capable of holding his own against the super soldier. He utilizes the tools that he has at his disposal, like the wings and the jetpack and you know, the combat training that he's gotten as a soldier. But there are more stakes than, say, watching Steve Rogers fight somebody.
Right. Like
when Steve Rogers is holding off Thanos in Infinity War at the tail end of that flick, like, yeah, there are stakes, but you're also like, he's he's not Superman, but he's almost Superman. You know, like he's the peak physical condition that a human can be in. Like he can run as fast as an animal, you know, and Bucky can do the same thing. But when it comes to Sam Wilson, he's just a man, and I think that's even more inspirational. Like I said,
yeah, man, that's what Captain America is supposed to be, right?
Right.
In my mind, when Sam goes to talk to Carly and he just tries to talk to her because he sees her as a person and not just a villain or a criminal, that's important. And let's just dive into it. We'll talk about my favorite scene, like I said, of the entire series was just Sam talking to Bucky and trying to help him work through his trauma, bro. He tells him, like, you've been going around telling people sorry, trying to make yourself feel better when you have the tools to give people closure and make them feel better. That's how you atone. You haven't been atoning, you've been avenging. I love that entire conversation because ever since Winter Soldier, we have seen that Sam has been a grief counselor for soldiers. Right? And this is exactly what Bucky needs. Bucky needs a friend, Bucky needs family, and he needs someone to talk to him and give him the real stuff. Like Sam told him, like, you ready for some tough love? And just told him what it is, man. Told him exactly what he needs to do, and that immediately goes back to the older Asian guy and his son. That one person that you can make all of the difference for. You can give them closure by just telling him. It's going to be really hard. It's going to be really hard for you to do it, but it will bring him closure to find out what he did to his son, right? And that's what Captain America should be. He should be a symbol of hope and inspiration. And that's when Bucky catches the shield, they're throwing it around, he hands it to Sam. It's like, that is the acceptance of Bucky truly seeing what Steve saw in him. And if Steve was right about Sam, then he's definitely right about Bucky. And then he's finally smiling and he feels like he can actually move forward with his life instead of feeling stuck as the Winter Soldier, bro. This is such a powerful moment. Like, Darren, how did you feel about that sequence?
I loved it. And I love the fact that, like, while in that, like, you know, they're throwing his shield around, they're having this conversation. I love the part where he told him, he was just like, yeah, you need to what you were saying, like, where he, you know, you need to make amends. You need to stop avenging and start atoning for some of these things. It's like, yeah, there's probably like, you know, 20 people I could do this for. And Sam just tells him, just one. Just start with one. You know, and then the healing for all parties involved can really begin. And that was so powerful to, like, finally hear that. Because both of them have had the noise of, you know, the shield, the noise of, like, the villains in the world, whatever the case may be. In the midst of all the chaos, they found a pocket where they can finally, like, see eye to eye, not as superheroes, but just as men. And that's hard to do, even in our society. We're told so many things of what we need to be. And for them to be able to just come together and just, you know, talk about, like, yo, the stress and the weight of just being a man and some of the things that you did, like, it sucked. And a lot of it wasn't even of your own accord. And someone said something earlier, I watched this a while ago, that Bucky since Civil War hasn't talked to Tony Stark. Has never had a conversation with him past that.
I guess so.
And I had to think,
yeah.
And I thought about that. I was like, damn.
And now it's too late.
And now, now it's too late. So it's like you have the weight of moments like that where they have not had a follow-up conversation. And there's so many things that just go into, like, his cycle, like his being. I just think that conversation had so much weight to it that made it so much easier for us to truly understand, like, what's going on in Bucky's mind and how to atone for that. And there's some areas in my life where I'm just like, damn, maybe I do need to call that person. Or maybe
Right?
maybe I do need to text this person. Because that just tells us, like, even in death or even in situations that, like, either we're in or out of our control, there's ways that we can move past it. There's ways that we can get closure. That closure doesn't always have to be tangible. It doesn't always have to be sometimes a physical conversation. Sometimes there are different ways that we can move past it. And that conversation kind of shed a lot of light on that, like, hey, there's ways to show forgiveness without the conventional means of just quote unquote saying I'm sorry and believing things are going to let bygones be bygones. Forgiveness doesn't always mean that you go back to the way things were. Forgiveness means you choose to be merciful and not let that resentment rob you from whatever purpose that you have in your life. And this moment like truly showcased that in the highest degree in a show. And again, this was one of those scenes where I took out the superhero pieces and I just looked at two men having a conversation.
Preach, bro.
Yeah, and they got to throw the shield around a little bit, which was really cool.
Awesome. It was awesome.
They're just playing catch with each other.
Yeah, right.
They have a really deep conversation.
Facts. And to correct both of you, at the end of this conversation, they said it was like, are we friends? Nah, we're partners. Nah, we're coworkers.
Right.
Nah, we're just people that, you know.
I love that breakdown. They're like, we're just two
just
people with a mutual friend,
agreement.
but now that mutual friend's gone, so we're just people.
Yeah, I love that. But yeah, this scene definitely broke that down in a way that like that hits home. So yeah, it was in Louisiana. Shout out to my people. But yeah, I loved it. I loved
Chris?
So this was also my favorite scene in the whole episode. And it mostly because it's such a stark contrast from the advice that Bucky's getting in the first episode of the show from the other therapist. You know, she's given him a mantra to go out and spout to all these people that, you know, he's wronged in his booklet, in his list, but it's meaningless, you know, because like Darren said, just saying sorry isn't enough. Like Sam says in the show, you have to be of service to them to find full closure. You know, it's about making them feel better, not about making yourself feel better by saying like an empty sorry, you know, that's not going to change anything within him. But I really do like how this conversation brings them closer together as friends, because, you know, Sam wasn't brainwashed by Hydra and sent out to kill a ton of people, but he is a soldier. So he can relate to what Bucky has gone through in his life. Prior to becoming the Winter Soldier, Bucky was just a regular soldier fighting in World War II. So like they can relate to one another on that level. And I love that Sam has the skill set to, in the most Socratic way, help people discover their own answers. And he's done it multiple times over the course of the show. You know, when he was talking to Carly earlier in the show, he's just asking questions. He's not saying any definitive statements. He's letting these people come to their own conclusions. And that's most of the time the most effective way to help people grow. People have to come to their own conclusions to truly change. You can't tell people what to do. So sometimes the Socratic method is the most useful. But I love that at the end of the conversation, Bucky's like, good talk. Like he really did gain something from it.
Yeah. I love that, man. Like, another thing that I wanted to talk about is Carly's unraveling, right? Like you can see her comrades like, oh, so we're working with criminals now? Mm-hmm. And it's like she's starting to really lean into, it's like, well, the country sees us as criminals, so let's just lean into it. We've already come too far, right? And then there's this moment inside the GRC meeting where someone turns to someone else and says, one world, one people.
Right.
And I probably, exactly. I was like, oh my God, they're turning into another version of Hydra. Like this corrupt organization is being built. And it's like, well, Zemo was right. Like she's become a radical, one that can't be controlled. Right. And the thing is, how will they stop her? Will they have to kill her? I hope not. I hope Sam has to like defeat her and then they're able to lock her up in the raft, or like, I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, what are your thoughts?
Dude, I would bet anything that, like, I think you're right. Sam probably won't be the one to kill her, but I think if Sam's able to talk her down and John Walker is on the scene, he is going to fucking kill her. Like he already took advantage of one of her quieter moments the first time Sam was kind of like talking her off the ledge. So now that he's going to be U.S. agent and doesn't have to abide by any of the rules set to him by the government, I think he would absolutely take advantage of that moment. And he has the super soldier serum in him now, so he's not afraid to like tangle with her. I think if that moment does take place, I think John Walker would end up killing her.
Yeah, I totally agree. I do think it will be John Walker to give the final blow. I do think the way the show is going, it's going to be one of those atonement things where, like, with her last breath or on the brink of death, whatever the case may be, she finally understands some of the error of her ways. And she's like, hey, I've become the people I hate. and the people I'm trying to destroy. Harvey Dent, Dark Knight, said it best.
Yeah.
You either die the hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And I think that's what's happening with her. She's like, hey, I see them fighting in these methods. Why can't we fight in these methods as well? But I love the hole that she's going down, this story that she's going down, because like, again, we can see this in life, what happens with a lot of people where you try to do good. You try to do good. And in you trying to do good, some of the worst possible outcomes can happen in that. So I love like the dynamic of her character in this show. Like she legitimately wants to help people, but in that she's killing people. Now, like she blew up the building with people in it. She's like, I'm going to have to become the same people I hate in order to achieve my good. So it's crazy, but I do see her character finding some sense of enlightenment in the midst of death. I just see that type of story playing out. That's just me.
Yeah, I don't think they can have Sam Wilson kill anybody.
Nah.
For him
definitely not.
Continue to be Captain America, you know? Someone else will have to do it.
Yeah, man, like there's so many great things about this show. Like there is no one person that you can say, oh, they're one note, right? Because you definitely empathize with the Flag Smashers. These are people just trying to do good things for the people that were displaced. Like the GRC is supposed to do all of these different things, much like the government in real life, and they don't actually fucking do anything. There are people still hungry, people homeless, they don't have food, they don't have healthcare, nothing. They have nothing. And the GRC is doing all of this marketing, and they're on TV talking about all of the things that they do. You're not fucking doing anything, bro. And this is where Sam is like, I believe in what you're doing, but not the way you're fighting it. And I really hope that Sam is able to get through to her, but man, would it be really crazy if the moment Sam gets through to her, a U.S. agent kills her. That would be absolutely insane. Like, that would break me. And then on top of that, we get the post-credit scene, and then he's building a new shield, cementing him to be U.S. agent. Oh, man. Like, what did you guys think about the end credit scene?
Dude, that shield's going to be crap, dude.
Right?
It's not made out of vibranium, so it's just like standard metal.
Yeah.
I don't
the first
know
thing I looked at, I was like, oh,
it.
It's small. And the first thing I looked at, I was like, oh, it's small. Oh,
there are multiple rings to it, Darren. Like he's not making like a baby shield.
I was like, oh, poor little Tink Tink.
Yeah,
man.
I think, have you guys seen the trailer for like, it's like a mid-season trailer. It shows what the shield looks like.
Yeah.
After it's like fully constructed. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think that shield's good. I think one punch from Bucky's metal arm and that thing's gonna shatter.
It's going somewhere. Yeah, I haven't seen the trailer. I'm trying to avoid the trailers for the TV shows. Because like the TV show trailer showed Sam training with the shield.
Right.
And I didn't want to see that.
Yes.
But I'm glad I had the moment. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't want to see that. Like in the trailer, like I knew that moment was coming. So I'm trying to avoid the trailers. If another Loki trailer drops, now I'm watching that. But besides that, I'm trying to avoid it just because like it's around the corner.
Yeah. So, we're on the last episode, so I mean there's no reason to
Darren, you brought up being excited to see Sam's new vibranium suit. So when I saw the case, I was like, oh my god, Sam is going to get a vibranium suit with vibranium wings, bro. I texted Chris immediately. I'm like, dude, he's going to get a vibranium suit. I think
so
it's going to be
excited.
awesome. I think it's going to be a whole suit with the wings, but even if it's just the wings, I'll be okay. I'll be okay with that because
it's a suit. What kind of don't half-ass anything?
I know. I can't wait to see it, bro. And even in the thumbnail for this episode of Villains, I really hope that it's the Wakanda version of that Captain America suit from the comics. I will lose my shit, bro.
I think it's going to be eerily similar. It's just, I don't know. I really feel like Marvel can outdo themselves with this suit.
I mean, look at Wanda's suit at the end. Like, her suit is way better than anything she's ever had.
Bro,
it's awesome.
So but also look at the technology that the MCU has given us from, like, the type of what they display with the technology. Black Panther suits, Killmonger suit, even the shield, that Captain America had in Infinity War. Just like the aesthetics and how they look, it's amazing. So I can't wait to see what they're about to do with this damn suit. So I'm excited. Well, I told you, the moment he puts it on, I don't really even need any music. It could be completely like just the moment with him wearing it, looking just so majestic. Like, I am going to shed a tear. I can't wait for him to wear this suit.
Dude,
Same, bro.
James, what did I say when we were watching the first episode? I said something like, Sam has his own musical theme in the show, but we also still have Cap's theme, right?
Yes.
So I predict that when he puts the suit on, we're going to get, it's either going to be full Cap theme or we're going to get like a merger of the two themes just to show that he is Captain America now.
Yeah, I think that would be amazing. Like, that will definitely make me cry for sure. Pedro brought up in chat, the wings could be nanotech. I think that would be dope. That's very in line with what Shuri does. It's very in line with Wakandan tech. And I'll take it a step further. I want the suit to be able to absorb kinetic energy, much like T'Challa's suit.
I didn't even think about that.
Because Sam would actually get way more out of that than T'Challa. Because T'Challa is enhanced, right? Sam isn't enhanced in any way. So if he has a suit that can absorb kinetic energy and then be able to redisplace it, I'll lose my mind. I will lose my mind.
In fact, they got to give him an extra layer or something, because again, he's not a super soldier.
Yeah, he's just a person.
So I think they will give him something that helps him kind of combat that. So like if he's around the enemies with a bunch of bullets flying in which way, just his wings alone may not protect him. So I love that they give him like, a type of nanotechnology in the chest plate or the legs or whatever the case may be. Just something, throw a little bit of that extra Wakandian love on it. That's all I'm saying.
That's what I want, right? I want it to be tailored to Sam, but I want it to be very, very much Wakandan.
Yes. Yeah,
so
100%.
I will say this. I have seen the suit. And I think didn't I share it with you, James?
No.
Okay. It's very cool.
Send it to me.
I don't know if you're upset or you want to see it, James.
I want to see it now. I'm upset.
I'll send it to you after the show. It's very cool.
Oh my God.
But I'm excited to see it in motion. I think it'll be really cool.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think about the kinetic energy thing. Like, that would be so dope if they built it into the suit. That would be awesome. Because we were talking earlier, like, you're absolutely right, James. He needs a little something extra, just a little extra protection. Like, he has the skill set, he has the fighting ability, he has the strategic mind. Like, he can do this on his own, but like, he's just a man. Give him like a bulletproof vest or something, for God's sake. Like, he's not immune to bullets.
Yeah,
so
that
I'm
Wakandan
suit
will automatically make him bulletproof. But it's just like, I think it would be great. Like, if he takes on bullets, he can just send back the kinetic energy. If he gets punched by a super soldier, the suit will just absorb all of that energy and he can just redistribute it. I think it would be amazing.
It's so sick. I can't wait for next week.
I can't wait to see how the wings move. Like, just how, like, just to see how, like, they expand, how they contract, how they can bend, how they can turn. I'm excited.
Oh man,
it needs to be next Friday right now.
Right? That's what I was saying after I watched the episode, because it took me like 2 hours to watch this episode, because every time something happened, I would pause it, back, think about it, rewind it, watch the whole thing again. I'm like, nah, I need to see that whole thing again. I think I watched that scene with Zemo and Bucky like 3 times. The scene between Sam and Bucky at the end, I think I watched that like 4 times. Like, I just went back and forth constantly, because all of these moments were so amazing and so impactful, bro. Like you already said, Darren, like, we didn't even need a bunch of fight scenes. Just all of these character moments had me on the edge of my seat. Right? Like, I was sitting in my chair, literally on the edge of my seat. And it wasn't until the end of the episode was over that I sat back and I realized that I was literally on the edge of my seat the entire time.
That's awesome.
It is a testament to how amazing the writing is in this series and just the MCU series in general. This is why I can't wait for Loki and Armor Wars and the series with Riri Williams and all of these different things, Miss Marvel. I can't wait to see how these are going to be handled, because there's not a lot you can do in 90 minutes, right? In a movie, there's not a lot of characterization that you can do when you need to introduce characters, introduce the plot, get to the third act fight, and end the film, right? There's not a lot
you have to be
can
more
do.
concise, focused.
Facts. Yeah, you gotta. There's little you can do, and we've seen in films where it's just like a lot of Marvel films, like they expand on the main hero, but all of your side characters and villains are trash because of that. So I love the fact that these shows. I mean, we say like 100 of them are out already, but these two have literally like hit on every note so far. And I love the fact that they're flushing out not only the main heroes or the main protagonists, but the antagonists as well. Like they're getting a good bit of shine too. Like I vibe with the villains more in Falcon Winter Soldier than I have in almost 3/4 of all Marvel films.
Facts.
so I much rather take a lot of these villain type stories over a lot of the stuff that they have tried to give us in 90 minutes or 2 hours. So I'm highly excited for more TV shows down the pipeline.
Definitely. So I want to get into final thoughts before we head out for the night. So Chris, I want to start with you. What are your final thoughts on this episode?
This was my favorite episode of the whole season. With both of these shows, the penultimate episode has been my favorite. And both for WandaVision and for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the episodes were character pieces. You know, in WandaVision, it was solely Agatha taking Wanda down memory lane, trying to figure out what caused all this trauma in her life. And there was a ton of world building. And same with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Like we've said, it was literally just Bucky and Sam hanging out for most of this episode, talking to each other, like becoming closer as people, growing as men. Like this is definitely my favorite episode of the whole season. And I think it's going to remain my favorite episode of the whole season, even without seeing the finale, based on what we've seen with WandaVision. Going forward, I think it would actually be smarter. I know they won't do this. They're not listening to me, but it would be smarter for Marvel Studios to actually release the last 2 episodes together, because this episode felt like the first half of a third act of a movie, whereas we were getting the character moments, we're building to this epic action-packed finale. But with this format, what that means is that the finale is just going to be action. And I know while the action is awesome and I love it, and like that's partly why I come to Marvel movies, I know a lot of people were disappointed with the finale of WandaVision because you had this huge think piece of a television show and the last episode was just action for the most part, outside of like the Ship of Theseus scene. Like it was all action. And I understand how like that can kind of be disappointing when the rest of the show is something else. It probably won't be as bad for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but yeah, I think going forward, maybe they should cut an episode of a season and just make the last episode super long or something. But yeah, I think this is going to remain my favorite episode of this series.
It might be for the exact same reasons that you're saying as well. Darren, what are your final thoughts?
You guys can hear me, right? Because I had to switch my headphones.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. Awesome. Perfect. Yeah. So I'm right there with you, Chris, for a lot of same reasons. I actually feel like as far as the main character wise, the arcs of the characters are kind of similar. Like Wanda, like being at her most like vulnerable moment and then becoming the Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
We have Sam, and then at his lowest moment, which
Absolutely.
we believe, now he finally becomes and that's a capital, the Captain America. So I agree with you. We see similarities in the patterns that Marvel has given us, where it's just like, all right, is this going to be the formula of how they go forward? I ain't mad at it, but it just saying,
neither am I. I'm not mad at it.
Yeah. And it's just like story, explosions. So is it like, are we going to get that? I do feel like this finale is going to have at least, 2 or 3 more like meaningful moments and conversations out of it. But I do feel like you said, it's going to be mostly action, and might be a little upset by that. That's weird. Like I want more conversations and character developments between these characters, but we all know they got to come to a head at some point.
Right. Of course.
But overall, this episode, I'm right there with you. Like, this might be my favorite episode overall in the show. I mean, in the series, mainly because like it had so many of those moments where it was real. Like, it's like if we take the shield and all the superpowers, all the super soldier serums in the world don't help you deal with some of the realities of the situations that you're in. There's not enough Wakandan tech to sometimes get out the confines of your mind. So yeah, and I love the fact that this show kind of tackled a lot of that. And it did it in such a humbling way. It's not like the conversation was in the midst of, fighting enemies or anything like this. The conversation was in your aunt's backyard, was at a boat dock, whatever the case may be. I love that. And then it still kept up the same tempo because they were training with the shield. This episode definitely held a lot of weight for a lot of reasons. And it hit home on a lot of fronts for me, mainly because, again, I'm from Louisiana and I feel a lot that these families brought when they were just like, oh, I got a few favors to call in. So I enjoyed it. I know the finale is going to make me tear up because, like, Marvel has given us that moment where they've earned, like, all of us collectively have earned the right to see Sam put on the suit and definitively pick up the shield. And this episode was the perfect gateway to that. And next Friday needs to get here. Because for nothing else, when he puts on that shield, I will pause. You
just got to look at it.
I just got to look, man.
Take it in. Take in the glory.
Look. One thing I do want, though, I think out of this, to your point, like, finales being a little bit more or, giving us a little bit more because we know what to expect.
Right.
Theaters, this is your perfect time. Start putting this stuff in IMAX. Like, start putting this stuff in theaters where we have the choice to say, like, hey, I want to experience the first 2 episodes of a WandaVision or the last episode of this, or maybe mid-season of Loki. I want to experience that in Dolby Vision. I want to experience that 4D smell-o-vision.
Hell yeah, dude.
All of it. I want it all in my face. So I do think at some point in time, if a Netflix or a Disney Plus buys out a movie theater and I can watch this, Mandalorian, Stranger Things, whatever, I have the option to watch it in theaters. Like, I'm totally here for it. And this episode gave us all, from the opening frames of the fight scenes to the last frames of them having conversations just about life and how to overcome it. I want these moments to be bigger. I want these moments to be seen in the highest formats possible. So, this definitely opened my eyes that, like, we need all of this in every format possible. For the people that don't have Disney Plus or the people that's not stealing it from other people, go watch it in theaters. Like, there is no excuse for people not to see episodes like this.
It wouldn't be the first time that a television show has done that. There were a couple of Game of Thrones episodes I think you were able to see in theaters. Yeah. Doctor Who used to do that a lot, where you could see Doctor Who episodes in theaters.
Anime movies are like, that's a new popular craze now, seeing them in theaters. You can see football games in theaters now when they come out. So I would love the fights, option. All of it. Facts. I would love to see the option of watching this in a theater, because I 100% would do that. I would hit up James and be like, yo, bro, come fly down here and watch episode 3 with me real quick. So yeah, 100%. But yeah, this episode as a whole just put me on a whole different wave, not only for this show, but what Marvel is doing in general for these characters and just people of color. So yeah.
Yeah, man, you guys said it all so perfectly. Like, I would love to see this in theaters. I mean, for fuck's sake, Inhumans got their first 2 episodes in IMAX.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's like, can I not get Falcon and Winter Soldier in
How dare you mention its name?
But this episode was so powerful for me, like, as a black man, listening to Sam and Isaiah talk, listening to Sam and Sarah talk, listening to Sam and Bucky talk to each other, watching what's his name, Battlestar, what's his
Lamar Hoskins,
watching Lamar's parents talk to John Walker, like, all of this stuff, it's so important, it's so impactful, And it's hard to just look at this character and just be like, yeah, I hate John Walker. I don't. His Lamar's family loved John, right? They loved
He flat
him.
out lied to them, though.
Yeah. That's because he didn't want to lose their favor.
Of
He
course.
wanted to stay within their favor because his friend died. But it's just the writing, the pacing, the score, the acting, absolutely everything was on point in this episode, and it is by far the best episode they've done so far. And like you guys, I don't know if the final episode is going to be able to top this for me, because this show and WandaVision has gotten me so used to hanging on every word of dialogue from all of these amazing character moments. I know I'm going to love all of the fight sequences that's going to happen between, you know, Bucky, Sam, John Walker, and the Flag Smashers and all of that stuff. I know it's going to be great, but episode 5 with all of these amazing character moments, these deep character moments, and what this means for these characters going forward in the future, it was absolutely everything that I could ask for. Absolutely loved it. But we're gonna get out of here. Darren, where can the people find you online?
Yo, again, the name is movie_CEO, where CEO stands for Creative Entertaining Opinions. We look for the good, the bad, the better, worse, and everything. And you can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and hopefully more appearances on here, James.
Oh, definitely, bro.
But yeah, come find me. I tried to put all my reviews and videos on both platforms just so people have a way to, you know, check out my content if you're interested in it. But yeah, again, I love talking anything pop culture related, not always reviews. Sometimes it's just my reaction or just, you know, my thoughts on particular characters or stories. But I love to hear from you guys. We are a community. And I love to hear different perspectives. If it wasn't for these two, I wouldn't have been watching shows like Invincible and things like that. So like, you guys definitely come check me out. I look forward to hearing from you guys. But yeah, find me on Instagram and YouTube.
Chris?
I co-host a podcast called Popaholics. It's a pop culture podcast. Every Monday, we go over the week's industry news. So we talk about a bunch of Hollywood stories, what's going on, casting, new movies being made, stuff like that, as well as what we've been consuming over the course of the week. And then every Wednesday, we release episodes centered around a main topic of the month. This month, with the release of Godzilla vs. Kong, we've been covering a whole bunch of Godzilla movies. So this Wednesday, you can look forward to a conversation we had about the 2002 movie Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. It's a lot of fun. You can also find us on Twitter at Popaholics. Every week we have a weekly poll that kind of ties in to the theme of that week. And then for me personally, you can find me on Twitter at Chris Conkling. Over there, I'm talking about, you know, television, movies, comic books, video games, collectibles, everything nerdy. I'm talking about it.
Yeah. You guys know you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, all of social media at JB Exclusive and at C4SVillains. If you guys aren't subscribed, what are you doing? Subscribe to the channel. We are doing villains every single Friday, where we're going to be bringing you reviews like this, where we're talking about Invincible, Falcon and Winter Soldier, The Flash, Superman and Lois. There's so many things to talk about. There's so many different topics that we're going to be bringing up on the show. Chris has already been on like 5 times at this point. Chris is going to be on the finale episode as well.
Dude, where is my jacket? I want my Villains members jacket.
I'm working on it.
I've earned it.
I want to earn mine. I want to earn mine, James.
Darren, I will definitely get you back on the podcast, man. Like, I loved listening to you talk about this episode, and I love your thoughts on movies in general. Again, if you guys are not following Darren, please follow his Instagram in the description below. Subscribe to his YouTube channel as well. His thoughts on movies are excellent. I love talking.
Darren's also been on Popaholics, not to promote my podcast.
I have.
But...
Yeah, and that was a great episode. What was the topic on that one again?
We talked about Get Out, and then we talked about Us.
Yeah, we did the Jordan Peele.
Yeah. So yeah, man, this episode was a lot of fun. I felt like we actually did like a really good breakdown of the entire episode and what all of these different moments meant to each of us individually. So I absolutely loved it. I love doing this show. Thank every single one of you that's in chat right now. I appreciate you guys showing up every single Friday, joining in the conversation. And we do this show live so that we can talk to you guys. Like, it's very special for me that I get to talk to you guys as I'm talking about it with my friends, because we're all friends here in this space. So again, I really, really appreciate every single one of you guys being here, and we will see you guys on the next one.
Peace out.